0614 104 107. Then to call in live, it's 086 000 2032. And if you're tweeting, tag SFM Radio, tag myself, Ashraf Garda, use the hashtag The National Pulse, which will allow you to give comments on throughout the length of the show. We'll be able to pick it up, right? And by the way, being a Friday, we have a Friday fireside chat, and my guest today is the CEO of Business Leadership South Africa. That's Busi Mavuso. Looking forward to that conversation. So much to consider all throughout the next 3 hours. Welcome indeed to the show. First things first, we're going to talk to the EFF regarding their position regarding Orania in the Northern Cape. With me is Shadrack Kwale, who's the EFF provincial chairperson in the Northern Cape. Shadrack, appreciate your time. Thanks for connecting on the National Pulse.
No, thank you very much, and good afternoon to your listeners, my brother.
Thank you. Right. Firstly, let's understand your party has a specific position regarding that place called Orania. What is that position?
Now, look, ours is the EFF in the Northern Cape. We strongly believe that racial tension that are emanating in the country are as a result of a town like Orania, where instead of uniting South Africans, we continue to drive each other apart. And that is done with an example that Orania has got an endorsement from the leadership of President Nelson Mandela to be what it is today. And that does not fit well to the current generation of our country, where we expected that democracy would give us a better South Africa, where black and white would live together without racial segregation and so forth. So the economic freedom fighters will continue to say that the fight to deal or to focus on Orania will not stop. It's going to continue from generation to generation up until the leadership of Orania start to appreciate that we are living in South Africa, and therefore we must promote Ubuntu.
Okay, you're saying that Orania contributes to racial tension. Give me some examples. How has it done that?
How it's doing it is, if you can check, my brother, black people are not allowed to look for residency in Orania. We do not call that a racial segregation.
No,
black
you said racial tension, not racial segregation. Does it contribute to racial segregation? Yeah.
It contributes. If you look at what Orania stand for, and what they believe to be the best practice in South Africa is not what we want to achieve. We are saying, as the economic freedom fighters, the country South Africa has just endorsed a land expropriation, and we feel that we should use this opportunity to say to the leadership of Orania that let's look into the deal they established from the beginning. You might not agree with me that it fuels racial tension, but anything that says white and black people cannot live together is perpetuated by racial view that black people cannot live with white people.
Well, I mean, I have to tell you on a very personal level, I always felt it is one of the great anomalies of South Africa that Orania could exist. They argue often nowadays to say, no, they're not racially defined. They're defined by language. They're a cultural grouping. As long as you speak that language, you can live there. But I think many people have said they bear testimony that there's the only people who are there are Afrikaners who speak that language, who live in that place. So there's no history of any others. So it does perpetuate a divide, which has always been an anomaly for me, right? But what I'm saying is, given what it is, it was decided at that stage, right? But has it contributed to racial tension, meaning that form of their own unique segregation which was allowed? Has it not been a case of them now simply doing what they want to do in their own lager, as long as we don't get there and, you and I don't go there, so it doesn't really affect us?
Why should it not affect us, my brother? We can't drive each other apart. I have a problem with a statement to say that you don't see Orania contributing to racial tension or racial segregation in this country. We cannot allow such. We must fight for this and continue to lobby. Hence, we are saying that they must be engaged because of what they are doing is wrong. The leadership of Mandela did this maybe because of they wanted to achieve a particular agenda. But that agenda has always been that South Africans must live together and appreciate each other because of we're trying to build a democratic country in which Orania should be part of that. And that Orania, as I'm speaking to you now, I want to buy land in Orania. How can I not buy land in Orania only because of I cannot speak Afrikaans when they can do business in English? So if they can do business in English and in any other form, then it means that anyone is welcome, can be welcomed to be a resident of Orania.
No, fair enough. I mean, I think, look, let's agree that the issue of segregation for me is a complete anomaly that doesn't make sense, right? All I'm saying is there proof that it's contributed to tension nationwide? Because as I ask you that, as you know, AfriForum are not very happy with the latest chant from your leader of, kill the Boer, kill the farmer, and they now taking the position after the Concord ruling yesterday. They want to take the position internationally. They're suggesting that contributes to racial tension.
Maybe I must say to you that kill the Boer, kill the farmer chant is not the President Julius Malema's chant alone. It is what we black people believe has led us to be where we are today. And that chant has never been transformed into practice, that where you see white people or black people killing each other as a result of the chant that we are saying as the EFF. It is not emanating from the EFF only. It has been there since the time of Peter Mokaba, since the time of the leadership of the ANC Youth League. All of those leaders, they're saying that. Why would you want to only say that it's us as the EFF only that are singing that song?
Because, I mean, I agree with you. I actually said it on radio yesterday, Peter Mokaba, at the time when he was the ANC youth leader. I mean, he delivered that chant often enough, right? I'm only saying that now because the EFF is the one that's most prevalent in doing so right now. But fine, let's move on. Let's go back to your big issue about Orania. So when you say you need to engage them, I mean, engage them, Orania, the people, that is, towards what angle? What do you really want?
Our angle is the same as the angle that was created by the leadership of Nelson Mandela, then that South Africa should not be a state where apartheid is practiced and implemented in dividing or fighting black people against the economy of this country, well, in which then white people, they did not agree that one day they will achieve what we are celebrating today as democracy. So even for us in the Northern Cape, we believe that this fight against Orania must be fought at all costs to make sure that a generation after us will come to appreciate that there is Orania, a fertile land for the people of Africa, especially the Northern Cape. So, because when they bought...
Yeah, carry on.
Again?
Carry on. Go ahead, Shadrach, carry on.
When the leadership of Karel Boshoff bought Orania, they bought Orania for a particular purpose. That purpose was for farming. There's no way in which they indicate that they bought the farm for establishing a town. But even if it was there, that should not have been accepted by the leadership of this country.
So having said that, whether you and I agree or not, it was accepted. Now what I'm asking you now is, do you want to have Orania as we know it now, as an Afrikaner-only enclave? Do you want that dismantled? Is that what you're asking, or are you asking for something else?
It's going to be dismantled. It's going to be an area where everyone who is a South African is allowed to stay and can stay there for as long as they wish and as per the constitution of this country. It is not an estate. It's a farm which was bought by an individual, which now, as the EFF were saying, that transaction was very wrong. It should be reversed, and by doing so, it will give lots of South Africans an opportunity to stay in Orania. My brother, let me ask you one question: that would you appreciate it that when you, as a white or a black person, you want to stay in Orania, you would be told that you can only do so if you can speak Afrikaans. What is this? What is so difficult that even when you can't speak Afrikaans, Orania people can say, we'll teach you, Shadrach, to speak Afrikaans so that we can fit in our community and we can live together.
No, I think many people have said that, so I hear you. All I'm asking you is, if that's your end goal, then what's the process? What are you going to do next about it?
What we're going to do next is to take the matter back to government. We started on Tuesday. We raised a motion without notice, section 136, that Orania should be brought back to the table for discussion, for engagement, and that should be done by government. It cannot be done by us as the EFF, but as the economic freedom fighters, because of we are in legislature, we are in parliament, we can submit a motion that it should be considered.
Okay.
Hence, on the 22nd of April, we are taking a march to the office of the Premier to start influencing and demanding that there should be engagement and discussion on this. And still on it, we are not saying white people who are staying in Orania hates black people, or black people who are not staying in Orania hate white people. We are saying we want to live together. That's why the leadership of Wynand Boshoff has reached out to us requesting a meeting, which we appreciate, and we are going to respond to that request and attend that meeting, in which we'll be able to raise all those other factors that you have asked me on, and clarify our stance as the economic freedom fighters.
All right, just the last thing. Well, I mean, we'd like to get the outcome of that meeting when it finally happens. Just a very quick answer on this one here. Fine, you're going to raise it, and you've raised it in Parliament already, and let's see what happens. Some may say by raising it now, you may actually be raising further racial tension anyway. That means leave well alone. How do you respond to that?
So they are saying that we must just leave it as it is because we don't want to touch the nerve of the racist.
Some may say that, yeah.
Not that person who said it. Is she or he saying that we must leave it as it is because of raising it to attaching a nerve of those who are racist? Because we must raise it, even if we can pack it under the table. At some point, it will come out. At some point, someone must speak to it. And we are speaking to it, and we are determined that no generation will leave this unattended.
Okay.
The EFF is raising it. The community is going to raise it. Hence, we are requesting everyone out there that anything that looks suspicious of racial tension, it must be attended to.
Okay.
And I can tell you now, Orania is promoting such. That's why now you find political parties that loses cases in court and leave South Africa because of they know that they have the backing of Donald Trump.
Got that. We're going to have to leave it at that, Shadrach. Lots to consider from that conversation with Shadrach Kwale, the EFF provincial chairperson in the Northern Cape. But bottom line, Orania, as they know it, can't exist any longer. That's what they're saying. This is the National Pulse.
Capture your special moments with AI Best Expression for those picture-perfect shots with the new Huawei Nova 13 from Vodacom, Mzansi's fastest 5G network. Get yours today on a 1.4 gig red core plan for only 499 Rand per month over 36 months. Enhance your deal. Add 129 Rand extra per month and get the Watch GT5 plus free Huawei FreeBuds SE2 valued at 1,499 Rand. Available in-store and online. T's and C's apply. Further together. Vodacom.
Hey, Chomi, being with the GEPF has given me such peace of mind about the future.
You can say that again. We can be rest assured that we will enjoy our retirement because our GEPF benefits are guaranteed.
Exactly.
We remain resolute in our commitment to members and pensioners. GEPF assets grew from 2.32 trillion Rand to 2.38 trillion Rand, and we paid out 142.46 billion Rand in benefits in the 2023-2024 financial year. GEPF, your investment, your future.
Smart SME by Santam is tailor-made insurance built for small businesses. Even you, Austoli, selling a scones from your kitchen, or you, Mr. Buy My Mixtape with the home studio. Smart SME is tailored insurance that covers it all. Your offices, stock, and cars. We cover the all in small business. Visit santam.co.za or SMS Smart SME to 34852 to get a quote. Santam, this is freedom. Santam is an authorized FSP, a licensed non-life insurer and controlling company for its group companies.
Masandawana have a master plan to win in their own backyard, to
ease off the pressure before the trip to the north. But the Beast of Africa want to demonstrate why they are also called the Smiling One. This is the first leg quarterfinal battle of the Total Energies CAF Champions League. Do not miss out on the delight of African football. Mamelodi Sundowns versus Esperance de Tunis on Tuesday, 1 April at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4, SABC 1 and SABC Plus. Also available on SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
You're listening to the National Pulse.
Right, let's talk about Zimbabwe now. We know that the Zimbabwean President Emmerson Mnangagwa has now urged Zimbabweans to go about their business as usual on Monday. And why Monday? Because there's been a call for a stay away on Monday. He has described those calling for protests as retrogressive individuals who are pursuing delusional ambitions. So what's the context to all of this? Well, apparently it's been reported that Mnangagwa is now facing growing dissent from many of his own party members from the ZANU-PF, with some veterans calling for him to step down. And there's also concerns about whether he wants to extend his reign, if I can say it that way, as the leader of the country. Let's get the thoughts of Lennon Indibele, who's a Zimbabwean journalist in that country. Lennon, good to connect with you. Thanks for joining us on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon to you too.
Thank
you for having me.
Right, so how important is this March 31st stay-away call?
Well, for the ordinary people, it doesn't mean much because it's a fight between two factions within ZANU-PF. Those that are against Mnangagwa's extension and those that want probably his Deputy President Chiwenga to take charge. So it's a pretty much ZANU-PF affair. It has nothing to do with the public.
Having said that, when we're talking ZANU-PF as the party that leads the country, then whatever happens between ZANU-PF must impact the country, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. You know, Zimbabweans have been hard done in the past. If you recall the November 2017 coup, it was sold as a people's movement, but it turned out to be a factional fight again in ZANU-PF. So people are just watching from afar and they want to see what's going to happen really. I don't see ordinary people taking to the streets.
You don't see that happening at all. Okay, what then? But I mean, even though, well, maybe here's the next question. What's the percentage of support that ZANU-PF has in the country?
Well, ZANU-PF is the only party, so to speak, right now. The opposition is dead. Pretty much ZANU-PF is Zimbabwe now, if we are to really look at things openly. So a change of guard would actually have effects actually on everything else that happens in the country.
Well, I mean, that's my point. That means, even if it's other ordinary people who are non-parties into ZANU-PF who don't protest, but just if ZANU-PF supporters protest, that could be a large amount of people anyway, isn't it? But let's get back to the big issue here. What is the basis of some members of ZANU-PF within the party effectively now opposing the leadership of Mnangagwa? What are they saying? What are they really wanting?
Well, since Mnangagwa came into power, they've been arguing that he's been lining his pockets and also having his allies getting the bigger chunk of the cake, and in the process sidelining others within ZANU-PF who feel like they played a part in the removal of Mugabe, but now they are excluded from big business tenders. You have people like Whitney Chivayo, Kuda Takwire, who are the biggest tender premiers right now. They get pretty much every other contract, and the likes of Blessed Days have been sidelined.
I also understand there's been, rumors that Mnangagwa may want to extend his reign beyond, I think, the next 2 years. Tell me more about that.
Right. Mnangagwa says he will follow the constitution. He's a constitutionalist. He won't extend his stay in power, but there is a push within ZANU-PF for people to say he should extend to 2030, if not another term, because his current term ends in like 2 years' time, 2028. But now, at first value, he says he doesn't want it. He doesn't want to stay on, but the party, those aligned to him, want him to stay on. So they are trying to look for ways and means of altering the constitution so that it stays on.
So it would require a constitutional change, yeah?
Yes.
All right. What then? So who are the people? I mean, give me some names of who's opposing him within ZANU-PF, and I mean, who's the leadership of the opposition there?
Right. I'll talk of a Central Committee member, Blessed Geza. He's the one who's been all over social media wearing military regalia, talking about this movement. He's openly spoken about Mnangagwa not being able to be a president any longer. He should step down, basically. That's what Geza is saying. But you see, when it comes to such things, you have one man up there talking, and the rest are just quiet because they fear persecution. You know, Mnangagwa is known as the crocodile, and anything can happen. Just like you saw, he retired an army general and gave me a ministerial post a few days ago. An unexpected move, so to speak, but it was his way of trying to prove himself from the military side.
So, lastly, I mean, what do you think is going to be the outcome of two things? One is the stay away call on March 31st, but beyond that, the actual outcome of the future of ZANU-PF and therefore the future of Zimbabwe. If you can do that in a minute, that'll be good.
You see, the future of ZANU-PF is interesting because you find everyone in the presidium is above 68 years. The president is 82. His deputy, Mohadi, is also 78. And Chiwenga is the youngest, pretty much at 68. But if you look at the old guard in ZANU-PF, all of them are in their 70s. You know, this is a party which has run the country since 1980. But those steering the ship are really old, to be honest. And in the future, you see younger Turks within ZANU-PF taking charge. But that will maybe in 6-7 years. Yeah, that's what I would say basically about ZANU-PF. Yeah.
All right, let's leave it at that for now. Lennon Indebele was a Zimbabwean journalist reflecting on the call from ZANU-PF members to go to the streets in protest against their very own president. And this is because there's differences ideologically within the individual party around leadership and other accusations. If you're from Zimbabwe or you have connections to that country, let's hear from you. This is the National Pulse. Let's get the news headlines. Here's Utsile Saku.
Thank you, Ashraf. Good afternoon. In the headlines, 3 people have been killed in a shootout with police in Reservoir Hills, north of Durban. KwaZulu-Natal police spokesperson Jane Iker says officers tried to stop a vehicle being used by suspects who were allegedly on their way to commit a house robbery. Postbank has clarified that the deadline for social grant beneficiaries to replace their gold SASSA cards with the new black Postbank card is May and not April. And South Sudan's SPLM-IO party has called on South African President Cyril Ramaphosa to intervene in the growing rift between President Salva Kiir and his longtime rival, First Vice President Riek Machar. Machar has been under house arrest in the capital, Juba, since Wednesday night. Details at 4.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Friday drive time. One thing on your mind, that's getting ahead of the traffic and getting into that weekend. Here's the big ones. Durban bound, in fact, on the M2 coming in from the airport. A breakdown before Gateway, so queues from Sabaya. M3 outbound from Sherwood towards Pavilion Mall. That's pretty heavy. That's sort of the new norm in the afternoons these days. And Ashburton area going to and from Pietermaritzburg, all sort of cleared up and sort of normal traffic restored after 2 big crashes this morning. It did take a while to get the scenes cleared, get the traffic backlog through, but it's all done and dealt with. Joburg's Mike 1 South, pretty heavy from Parktown, making your way down through to Braamfontein. Also, there's a crash on the N3 at Heldenace, so moving from, well, in fact, it's St. Elon's interchange, so moving from Heldenace, passing Cement Factory on your way down towards Sprayview. That's quite heavy. And Cape Town today, a fatal collision involving a pedestrian on your way inbound from Khayelitsha has been cleared. That traffic that was pretty severe earlier has been, well, it is starting to flow through. And just a heads up, the N7, the roadworks, that single lane section of Four Trekker Road going south is still there. The traffic is heavy. It's already back to the N1 highway. Expected to worsen and get back towards Bosman's Dam as we go through the afternoon. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Kapele.
So, Tumi, we know that this last week was an international week or weekend or week for many clubs around the world in football. But it's now back to club football, and you got news about the league leaders, Mamelodi Sundowns. Right?
Absolutely. A very good afternoon to you, Ashraf, and our listeners. Well, Mamelodi Sundowns have been boosted by the return of Themba Zwane ahead of the Nedbank Cup quarter-final against Kukune United tonight. Now, Zwane has been on the sidelines because of an Achilles injury since October last year, which saw him go for surgery. Mshishi returned to training with the team in Glorkop in early February, and it'll be interesting to see if he'll be on the field today. Kickoff for this match is at 7 p.m. Meanwhile, the men's SA under-17s preparation for the under-17 AFCON has moved to the next level as they're gearing up for their opener against Egypt on Monday in Morocco. Wydad Casablanca head coach Rulani Mokoena has actually been showing the team some great support in Casablanca. He even organized a friendly for the junior national side against the Wydad under-19 team, whom they lost to 3-2. Now, SA under-17 team head coach Vela Kumalo says that Mokwena's support has motivated the boys for the AFCON.
We have our own Rulani and his technical team who organized a friendly for us when we were in South Africa. We organized it, so we played last night. I was very delighted to see even our players, Cassius Lodge.
Wow!
They were all there to support us. They came, we played together. We had good times together, and they will be coming to watch us on Monday as they promised.
Nice touch there, having South Africans support each other. Elsewhere, former Barcelona defender Dani Alves has won an appeal against a rape conviction, which sees his 4.5-year jail sentence overturned. The 40-year-old was found guilty in February last year for assaulting a woman in a Barcelona club. However, today, the court has ruled that there was insufficient evidence to rule out Alves' presumption of innocence. Moving on to rugby, the Blitzboks kicked off their Hong Kong Sevens campaign on high with a 47 win over Uruguay in the opening Pool B fixture. The Springbok Sevens ran in 6 tries, courtesy of Cohen Notgier, who bagged a brace of tries with Sivuyo Soizwapi, Shilton van Wyk, Gino Cupido and Ricardo Duarte also crossing the whitewash. However, not the same performance against Australia in that second game. They lost 26-7, and this sees them third in Pool B with 3 points after 2 games. In cricket, the first play of day 2 of the CSA 4-day series between the Lions and the Dolphins at the DP World Wanderers was cancelled due to the weather. The Lions had won the toss on day 1, electing to field first, and the Dolphins are currently sitting on 83 for 2 from a rain-affected day 1. There was also delay at the Supersport Park for day 2 of the clash between Titans and Northwest Dragons, but play has resumed, and the last time I checked, the Dragons are currently on 341 for 8. They had won the toss and they elected to bat first. And then finally, the second edition of the Johannesburg City Marathon takes center stage this weekend. Around 4,000 runners will take to the road on Sunday, with the marathon starting at the Klip-Riverberg National Reserve in Kibla Park. And in terms of road closures, Gordon Road, the R82, the M1 South and Nelson Mandela Bridge will be fully closed from 5:30 in the morning until midday. So if you are in those areas, just make sure that you plan your trips accordingly so that you don't find yourself stuck somewhere on the road along there. But with that said, it is a wrap from my side for now. I'll have more in the next hour. But before I go, Ashraf, I was reading an interesting opinion piece. Remember last week we were talking about how Gavin Hunt, it seems like he's having a slump. But according to this piece...
Well, he's been fired, right? I mean,
yeah, he has been let go by Supersport United, and the piece was just talking about how Gavin Hunt and Machine Ertugrul, they have a lot of experience, and we've seen how well they've done. However, it seems like recently the results are just not coming in, and they're alluding to the fact that perhaps they are not evolving to the modern game.
Okay, and do you think...
For me, I'm struggling to...
What do you think?
I mean, for me, I'm struggling to see that, because I would assume that every single person, whether you're a coach, you're a player, there's an on-season and an off-season. And coaches, I mean, we see someone like Pep Guardiola, and I'm just making an example. With him, the results not coming in as much as he would want to be, as successful as he wants to be. Do you think these coaches don't try to find the modern way of coming up with strategies of playing as football is evolving?
Well,
Surely
I
they
don't know
do.
enough. I mean, I don't follow. The coach doesn't coach me, so I don't
Of
know.
course,
right?
yeah.
But I mean, my gut feeling, maybe the truth is somewhere in between that. That means the coaches try and evolve to become better and learn new tricks of the trade, but you also have an inherent style about yourself. I mean, let me give you an example.
Yeah.
I'm a talk show host. If you asked me and you paid me R1 million a month to say, be a DJ, I'm not going to do it. I can't do it. I don't have the acumen for it. I don't have the interest to do it. And even if I tried, I'd probably do a very, very lousy job.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say to you is that all of us, we can evolve to a degree, but you can't evolve like 360. And it is possible that the person may be right. That means that there are some trends that are developing globally that some coaches just can't catch up with. But I'm not that I know much about Gavin Hunt now. So it's possible, but maybe it's not.
For me, I think, listen, everyone in your career, one way or the other, especially when it comes to coaches, there has to be, or there is going to be a slump.
No, but you can have a slump, but still, like, for example, Pep's only had a 6-month slump, not a 6-year slump.
Mourinho?
No, Mourinho is probably Mourinho hasn't evolved. Maybe that's the point. Maybe that's a good example. That Mourinho of the Chelsea, Real Madrid era is not the Mourinho who took charge of Man United and Roma and Fenerbahce and everything else. He's not the same. He doesn't have the same impact.
I'd love to hear what our listeners think about
I'd like
this
to know
one.
what Mourinho says. My goodness, he may just be calling me now. I think there's just a missed call from no. Let me go. More sport in an hour.
From the shows that bring us laughter to the moments that inspire us, your SABC TV license makes it all possible. Every license paid supports local stories, top talent, and the programs that unite South Africa. Pay your TV license today. Visit tvlic.co.za or your nearest retail outlet. Your screen, your story. Together, we make it happen.
Get quality products at low prices at Top T Tiles. Shop our extra durable A-grade Magoya stone tiles from 79.90 square meters. Complete toilets from 849.90 and save on our tile combos from only 949.90. Spend 2,500 or more and you could win a home makeover worth 50,000. Deals end 30 April. Top T Tiles, where every price is a low price. T's and C's apply.
Are you still receiving television through analog? If your household monthly income is 3,500 Rand or less, you qualify for free government decoder and installation. Analog television transmission will be switched off on the 31st of March 2025. Don't be left behind. Apply today at your nearest post office or through stbregistration.gov.za to receive your free decoder and installation or to check your registration status. Hashtag Chincha Ungasali. Hashtag Go Digital. For more info, send a WhatsApp message to 0600 625 458 or call 0860 736 832. Email support@sentech.co.za. Web chat sentech.co.za or Facebook Messenger @Sentech Ltd.
Diabetes has become the leading cause of deaths in South Africa. Every hour, at least 3 people die of diabetes in this country. This means that in a year, we lose more than 30,000 people to this dreaded disease. This is a silent pandemic which requires active participation by all of us. You may be asking, what can I do as an individual? Limit intake of foods and drinks high in sugar and be physically active. Eat right for a better life. Foods high in sugar, fat and salt can lead to obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease and certain cancers. This message is brought to you by the National Department of Health.
So here's a question to you. Has your medical aid gone up this year? You're probably going to say, yeah, but that does not mean that you have to pay more for your car insurance. Get a quote, and if OUTsurance can't beat your car insurance premium, ask them for 500 rands in cash and make that 1,500 rands if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Get monthly savings on your car insurance or cash in your pocket. SMS OUT to 30754. You've got that? OUT 30754. With OUTsurance, you always get something out. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
So often we talk about, South Africa's best rugby player and South Africa's best footballer and the best musician and the best global star, and we bring in Tyler and all that sort of thing. But what about South Africa's brands? And I'm talking about companies in the main, okay? Who are South Africa's top brands and who is number one in those brands? Let's find out and what they're worth as well, of course. Jeremy Sampson is somebody who knows all about brands, is the MD of Brand Finance Africa. Jeremy, it's been a while. Good to connect with you on the National Pulse.
Good to be with you, Ashraf, as always. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, so firstly, when we say the top 100 South African brands, just give us a definition of what are you talking about?
Look, I'm representing a company called Brand Finance, which is London-based, and it is the leading independent company that produces these rankings all around the world. It's based on 2 international standards, one for financial value, which is 10667, and the other is for brand equity, the non-tangible side. So this is global best practice, and as I say, we produce over 100 rankings, countries, different sectors like oil and gas, retail, whatever, and then here is South Africa. So it's global best practice, and when one looks at the whole thing, one can then evaluate the strength of our brands in South Africa against the global brands. The leading 2 brands, as they've been for a long time, are the telcos MTN and Vodacom. But MTN is Africa's most valuable brand as well, but they're still small in global terms. Now, when it comes to the telco rankings globally, they don't make the top 100. But it is interesting that you mentioned the top 100. They collectively have a value of 683 billion rands. So that shows you the huge value of these brands, and of that MTN is about 50 billion. And this is where I often say, well, I don't want to get too political here, guys, but the government has over 700 SMEs, and what are the SOEs and the SMEs, and what are they all worth? They're actually worth not much money because they're not making a profit. Okay. So the private sector is crucial here, absolutely crucial.
Yeah, well, I think you raised such an important point about just what are the values of SOEs anyway, right? So you're saying MTN has been the dominant force here. I mean, how long has that continued as South Africa's number one brand?
It's been a long time, but this year it's taken a huge hit. Its value has dropped 25%, and partly it's out of its control because, as you know, MTN is a global organization. It's one of its biggest markets is in Nigeria, and out of its control, of course, Nigeria devalued the Nigerian naira in the last year by 60-odd%. So that dropped MTN right down. Look, they're still worth over 50 billion, which is huge. But I think Vodacom is lipping its licks because they're getting closer now. They're up to nearly 44 billion. So there's only a gap of 6 billion. So we're watching this one with great interest. Okay. And those are the 2 that head the whole thing.
All right. Maybe complete the top 10 for us. I mean, just very quickly, running from 3 down to 10. Yeah.
We go then, third is, and it's banks and retail are the dominant people. So in third place is Standard, and then FNB, and then ABSA, and then we get to Checkers and Woolworths, and then back to the banks, Nedbank, Investec, and then number 10 is ShopRite. So in that top 10, there's Checkers and ShopRite, which is huge when you think they're all part of the same group.
And if you combine the 2, where would they end up then?
I think they end up at about number 3 or 2. They would be right up there, and this is where they're very powerful. And this is where we're seeing in South Africa, banks, telcos have been dominant, as in emerging countries around the world. That's common, but retail is getting stronger and stronger at the moment.
Yeah. What about mining companies? I mean, if mining for a long time has been part of South African life, I mean, where's the mining brands as we know them?
Well, we've got a lot in the top 100, but they're all down towards probably the bottom bottom quarter, because they don't see themselves as brands. Now, if you refer to it as a mining company, if I mention De Beers, you'll think diamonds, but actually they regard themselves as a mining company. And it's part of Anglo-American, but Anglo-American have bought and sold De Beers within the group a couple of times, and they put zero value on the brand De Beers. And this is where mining houses generally and miners are very bad at branding and marketing as a brand, because they're not beneficiating. They're digging stuff out of the ground for the most part. They're not beneficiating. They're commodities, and that's the bottom end of the range when it comes to brand.
Okay, perhaps we should give them a visitor, because I think that's important, right? What about, and I take it, I mean, you gave the MTN Nigeria example, so this would still be a brand that is known as made in South Africa, although it has reached beyond the borders of South Africa, and they measured beyond South Africa. Is that correct?
Absolutely, and this is where the top South African brands, although they're domiciled here, they're listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, they reach out increasingly into Africa. Interesting that there aren't any really pan-African brands, but then if you look at people like Standard Bank, you look at ABSA, I think they're in each of them. I think ABSA's about 8 or 9 countries. I think Standard Bank's 11 or 12. When you consider Africa as 54 countries, and they're in 8 or 9, but obviously they're in the main centers, and they're only going to be in places where there are lots of people and where they can make a return.
What about, interesting, when I see the Springboks appear in that list, and ordinarily someone will say, what do you mean? We're talking about a rugby team.
Well, it's very interesting, but let's face it, to a lot of people around the world, the best-known South Africa brand is the Springbok. And this is where we decided for the first time we would actually put a value on it. It came in at number 50. It's got a value of 2.2 billion. And we thought, well, we put these valuations together based on publicly available material. We don't work with these different companies at all, so it's got to be publicly available. But we found our way into seeing the finances of SARU, because of course Springbok fits in there, and that's how we were able to put together a value. But as part of our presentation, we also looked at some of the other top sporting brands, because we know South Africa is sporting mad. So we looked at things like Kaizer Chiefs, we looked at Sundowns, and this is where the sporting brands in South Africa, as you would know, because you're a sport man, are very, very potent, and they stretch all across the continent.
Okay, and then Chiefs, just as a comparison, if we say the Boks are valued at 2 billion rands, Kaizer Chiefs and Pirates, Sundowns, very quickly?
They were outside the top 100, so we didn't put a specific figure on them. But no, they are way down the list. Springboks is absolutely dominant, and of course we're talking Springbok value at the moment because they've been talking about doing a deal with an American investor. Money is out in the public domain, and so from those media exposures, we can get an idea of the value of the Springbok brand. Look, it's still pretty low compared with some of the other top rugby brands.
Understandably
and
so,
we thought it should be right up with the All Blacks, but it isn't.
Okay.
But when you think it's won the World Cup, 4 times in 30 years, you'd think it would be actually more of a premium than it's got.
Well, somebody has to do some work. Jeremy Sampson, maybe it's up to you. Let me leave it at that. Jeremy Sampson, MD of Brand Finance Africa. Google it. You'll get all the list of the 100 and everybody else. Perhaps Jeremy can also tag us with that list as well. Fascinating indeed. South Africa's top 100 brands. This is the National Pulse.
Ladies and gentlemen, grab your umbrellas and grab your lottery tickets. A big storm is about to hit Mzansi because the National Lottery is making it rain millions with huge jackpots this March. It's raining millions left, right and center with a flood of chances to win big. So grab your tickets now and you could be our next big winner. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120*7529 hash. Panda Pusha Play. Players must be 18 years old or play responsibly. Ituba is a proud operator of the National Lottery.
Spar brings you Super Saturday for one day only with incredible savings you can't miss. Get 2-liter Coca-Cola regular, buy 2 for 45 Rand, save 11 Rand. 2-liter Fanta, Sprite or Stony regular, any 2 for 28 Rand, save 12 Rand. Or 2-liter Coca-Cola, Fanta, Sprite or Stony Zero range, buy any 2 for 25 Rand, save 15 Rand. Prices valid 29 March only, while stocks last. Spar Rewards, sign up for more.
Abafana Besitende want to ensure that Amakosi walk off the pitch empty-handed, but the Gold and Black boys from Naturena are chasing 3 points to cement their spot in the top half. Catch the unmatched passion and drama of Mzansi's beautiful game. Golden Arrows versus Kaizer Chiefs this Saturday, 29 March at 2:30 p.m. live on SABC1 and on SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Also available everywhere for everyone on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Diabetes has become the leading cause of deaths in South Africa. Every hour, at least 3 people die of diabetes in this country. This means that in a year, we lose more than 30,000 people to this dreaded disease. This is a silent pandemic which requires active participation by all of us. You may be asking, what can I do as an individual? Limit intake of foods and drinks high in sugar and be physically active. Eat right for a better life. Foods high in sugar, fat and salt can lead to obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease and certain cancers. This message is brought to you by the National Department of Health.
Vertex Events invites you to celebrate 10 years of magic music sessions through praise and worship. Celebrating with us, Joyous Celebration, Colin Wamo, Dr. Dumi, Ayanda Danzi, Nuso Worship, and Matima, with a special guest service and performance by Pastor M. Chabalala. 26 April at Sunbet Arena Times Square in Pretoria from 3 p.m. Tickets on 450 Rand at Web Tickets and Pick and Pay. Come celebrate with us. The Magic Music Sessions, brought to you by Vertex Events.
X at SFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
Okay, let's get to your calls. And of course, it's the National Pulse. So what's moving your pulse today? I want to hear you. Lala in Polokwane, go for it.
Ashraf.
Yeah, hello.
Ashraf, I want to talk about the issue with the Constitutional Court ruling. Basically, the issue of singing that song.
Yeah.
How is it going to help us with the high unemployment rate that we have today? Is it going to help us to solve it? Based on the statistics, the statistics are saying 3 out of 5 young people who can work are without work. Is singing this song going to help us to get employment for these young people? I don't think so.
Okay,
we can take an example.
So you're not talking about the ruling, whether the ruling is right. You're saying the principle of actually singing the song has the right to work. It's something I raised yesterday, I think, or the day before, to say, how has that transformed society? And you're saying
it does not help at all. Let's take an example. In Finland, Zimbabweans, they've taken funds many years ago. 15 years later, they are still not employed. They are now employed in the funds in South Africa, whereas they've taken funds in their own country. So even if it can take 15 years until you've taken the funds and you've killed the world and whatever that you've done, this is not going to solve our current situation.
Okay. Well, you've raised a very important point. Thank you for that. By the way, we're chatting to Kali Kriel from AfriForum, the CEO, just after the news at 4, because you may know about the Constitutional Court ruling that they can't appeal that ruling of Kildeboer, and they want to now take it internationally. Right, the firemen in Polokwane, are you going to put out the fire or what? Let's get your thoughts. Hi.
Ashraf.
Yeah, how's it, man? Go for it.
That song is irrelevant in this modern day. Why should we kill the farmer? Why should we? I mean, the lyrics speak for itself, Ashraf. Kill the boer, kill the farmer. Why should we kill them at the moment, at this point?
So are you saying it's relevant or it's irrelevant? What are you saying?
Irrelevant. It is irrelevant, Ashraf. We had the truth and reconciliation in this country. We forgave one another. You see, apartheid was bad, but we forgave one another. I don't know whether you remember truth and reconciliation.
Yes, of course I do. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, that's the day we forgave each other. You see, then why should we sing this song, Ashraf? Man, it is irrelevant. Malima should not. I don't know.
All right. Well, thank you for that. But it's interesting. I mean, and here's the point, just regarding the EFF's drive. I mean, it certainly didn't work for them in the last election as a rallying call, if that's what you want to say, right? Okay, let's get another thought on this. We go to Klebecha now with Jonathan. Hi, Jonathan.
Hi, Ashraf. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, just given this court ruling, so and first of all with Malema, this goes back to Malema. That's before. Firstly, Malema made mockery of the court. In the court, he said, no, he said kiss the bull, not kill the bull. So that's a huge mockery, but that's besides the point. We want to build this country. There's so many people that want to build this country. And it seems EFF and AfriForum are trying to pull this country apart. And with the song "Kill the Boer," I'm a so-called Cape Colored. What if someone sings "Kill the Colored" or "Kill the Indian" or "Kill the Muslim" or "Kill the Black" or "Kill the Nigerian"? So it's totally irrelevant and it's so sad. So yeah.
All right, thanks for raising that. And again, we had this full-on conversation 2 days ago about it. I think it dominated the entire show. It may well do the same again after we chat to Kali Kriel after 4 o'clock, right? Let's get to some of your voice notes as well. And the issue about the EFF and Orania, that certainly comes up too.
Ashraf, good afternoon, man. Flores here from the Western Cape. Ashraf, with regarding to Orania, those people are showing, I think, the rest of the South African municipalities how you run a town. And they don't ask a cent from the government. Samani Soul, Premier of the Northern Cape, does not have a problem with it. It's similar to living in Sandton and living in the Alexandra, similar to living in Sea Point, Cree Point, and then that known all those areas, and living in Kailicha, the haves and the don't haves. But yeah, let those guys be, man. They don't bother us, so just let them continue.
Well, I think many would agree that it's a well-run municipality, if I can call it that, and there's a lot to learn from that. But the other parties, it's not similar because you can't really stay there, can you? It's an enclave. Whatever was agreed upon, it's an enclave, like a semi-autonomous region within a bigger country. It's a strange agreement, but should we leave it like that?
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Now, just listening to you speak to that EF representative, you know what? We're sick and tired of the fact that they cannot group together and build something that they are happy with. So they constantly have to look to tear other people's lives down. As far as I know, Orania is a privately owned farm, and people have a right to actually stay together. It's a right of association, it's a language, it's a culture. That's what it is. So why must other people who are incapable and incompetent and just want to voice their opinions try to stop other people from having a good life? Mark from Cape Town.
Well, I think that privately owned farm issue has been brought up before. If you've got a private farm and you want 1,000 of your family members to live on that farm, that is your right. The question is, to what degree does that become a political statement being made, where they express themselves politically very differently to what is the norm in our country? Just think about that. Kali Kriel coming up in a moment or so. Let's get the news. It's 4 o'clock. Here's Utsila.
Thanks, Ashraf. Top stories at 4 o'clock. 3 people killed in police shootout in Durban, and SASSA card transition extended to May. Good afternoon. 3 people have been killed in a shootout with police in Reservoir Hills in Durban. KwaZulu-Natal police spokesperson Jay Naika says officers tried to stop a vehicle being used by suspects who were allegedly on their way to commit a house robbery. Naika says the suspects opened fire on the police.
3 suspects were fatally wounded and 2 firearms were recovered. Police officers also found a grenade in the vehicle. 2 police officers were grazed by the bullets on the head during the shootout, and the 2 members were treated on the scene by paramedics. Further investigation has revealed that these suspects were wanted for a spate of cash-in-transit robbery cases going as far back as 2021. Investigations are ongoing to determine if there are any other cases in which the suspects were involved in. The recovered firearms will be subjected to ballistic tests.
A recent video circulating on social media platforms of suspects committing robberies in broad daylight in the Bloemfontein CBD in the Free State has sparked a public outcry. 9 suspects have been arrested in connection with the robberies. One of the suspects was arrested for buying stolen items. They will appear in the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court on Monday on 8 charges of aggravated robbery, and police say more charges may be added. Police spokesperson Tebogo Jacobs has urged those who witnessed the incidents to come forward.
So we are pleading to the victims to come forth. We are also making a plea to the person who took the video to come to the police station at Park Road, because we do need the original copy of that video to be in the file or in the docket. As a person who took the video, you are not going to be appearing in court, and there's nothing that will actually have your name on to say that you are the one that took the videos. A heartbreak was the fact that the victim is a female, and not even one person went to go and help.
The Postbank has clarified that the deadline for social grant beneficiaries to replace their gold SASSA cards with the new black Postbank cards is May and not April. This follows comments by Minister in the Presidency, Khumbudzo Ntshavheni, during a post-cabinet briefing yesterday, where she stated that the deadline had been extended to the 30th of April. Postbank says there's been confusion over the cut-off date. So far, 1.3 million of the 2.6 million beneficiaries have successfully made the switch. Postbank CEO Nikki Mbengashe briefed the media in Pretoria.
We wanted to clarify. We know that there is some confusion in the media in terms of the dates that is speaking to April. Please take this as the confirmed extension of the use of the SASSA Gold Card this 2 months. So we are pleading with the media to please help us. We apologize for that confusion that was created, but we will really truly appreciate the media helping us to clarify that people have April, the whole of April, and the whole of May.
The N1 road has been opened to traffic after a multiple vehicle crash next to Witflag in Louis Trichardt, Limpopo earlier today. 2 people, including a 5-year-old girl, were killed and several others sustained injuries. The Transport Department says reckless driving is suspected to have caused the crash. The department spokesperson, Didimo Lechweni, has urged motorists to follow road safety rules and to be cautious on the road. And finally, South Sudan's SPLM-IO party has called on President Cyril Ramaphosa to intervene in the growing rift between President Salva Kiir and his longtime rival, First Vice President Riek Machar. Machar has been under house arrest in the capital, Juba, since Wednesday night. This has effectively voided a 2018 peace deal that ended a 5-year civil war and brought the two men into a fragile power-sharing government. Kenya earlier announced that it will be sending former Prime Minister Raila Odinga to South Sudan as a special envoy. Deputy President of the SPLM-IO, Oye Nathaniel, says they believe Ramaphosa can break the deadlock between the two parties.
We believe that Cyril Ramaphosa is an elder brother to His Excellency Salva Kiir Mayardit and also His Excellency Dr. Riek Machar. It is him who can break the deadlock between the two gentlemen. The way forward is to enlist the support and the effort of South African government through the President, His Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa, who we expect and we appeal for him to intervene in this critical juncture.
Recapping the top story, 3 people have been killed in a shootout with police in Reservoir Hills in Durban. For SFM News, I'm Utsile Saku, headlines at 4:30.
In sports this hour, Dino Ndlovu is back in the PSL as Marumo Gallants confirm his signing. Then Venter is set to earn his 50th cap for the Lions, while in running, Gerda Steyn aims for a record-breaking 6-2 Ocean Marathon title. Stay tuned for more details at 4:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
If you're driving into Durban from Belito or from the airport, here's some advice. Stay off the N2. At the minute, use the M4 to get through quicker. Tell you what's going on the N2. There's a crash before Sibaya, a breakdown before Gateway, and then another breakdown in the roadworks before Kwamashu. It's a massive queue of traffic. N2 southbound. The M4 is your alternative. Looks all right. Crash out by Pavilion. The N3 out of town towards Pinetown, back from Felix Lamini. And the breakdown going up into Pietermaritzburg between Ashburn and Market Road. So quite heavy there. Joburg, collision N3 south at Elands interchange, deep in Germiston. That traffic queue's right back into Edenvale territory. Mike 1 from Melrose down to Parktown looks unusually slow today as well. And Cape Town, well, the big story there is the N7, still just one lane open on the Jake Scoville Drive southbound run through Goodwood. The roadworks just past Voortrekker Road. It's a 50-minute queue, 50 queue from Bosmansdam Road up in the Edgemead area. Stay off it. Use alternatives. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
ShopRite's low price promise means that we fight harder to bring you low prices on the products you need most. Swipe and save with our Essentials combo and get 700 grams Albany Superior brown bread, 750 grams Right Brand French bologna, a tray of 18 eggs, and a 500-gram brick of Olay fat spread. All four for a low 99 Rand. Valid until 6 April. Only at ShopRite.
From the shows that bring us laughter to the moments that inspire us, your SABC TV license makes it all possible. Every license paid supports local stories, top talent, and the programs that unite South Africa. Pay your TV license today. Visit tvlic.co.za or your nearest retail outlet. Your screen, your story. Together, we make it happen.
Masandawana have a master plan to win in their own backyard, to ease off the pressure before the trip to the north. But the Beast of Africa want to demonstrate why they are also called the Smiling One. This is the first leg quarterfinal battle of the Total Energies CAF Champions League. Do not miss out on the delight of African football. Mamelodi Sundowns versus Esperance de Tunis on Tuesday, 1 April at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. SABC 1 and SABC Plus. Also available on SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Do not be fooled. Smoking kills. Across the globe, more than 8 million people die of tobacco-related diseases every year. During the broadcast of this radio advert, which is only 60 seconds, 16 people would have died from tobacco. Quit smoking and vaping. If you cannot resist this lethal habit, please protect non-smokers and children. Do not smoke or vape in public places or near children. Inhaling any tobacco product, whether through smoking or vaping, can cause cancer, birth defects, heart, lung, and oral diseases. All tobacco and related products are harmful to your health. This message is brought to you by the National Department of Health.
Clientele funeral plans provide lasting dignity for you and your family. Plans pay out cash within 24 hours and include grocery, transport, and unveiling benefits. You can cover up to 13 people on one plan. Get peace of mind today. SMS Radio 2000 to 45538. That's Radio 2000 to 45538. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
It certainly has been a dramatic last month or so for South Africa, and in many ways it coincides with the inauguration of Donald Trump as the President of the United States of America. And central to the drama has been, AfriForum and Solidarity, right? Now, in the last few days, of course, we've had once again the EFF for Julius Malema at an EFF event chanting with his group, kill the Boer, kill the farmer. And in many ways, I would think that sparked of AfriForum once again to pick up that issue and go to the Constitutional Court. Now, to give us some context around that, I mean, in the past, we've had the same issue that's gone through from the, to the South African Human Rights Commission as well as to different courts and the Constitutional Court. But in this case, significantly, the ConCourt did not give the AfriForum leave to appeal this issue. So effectively, that was dismissed. So with me, Kali Kriel is here. He's the CEO of AfriForum. Kali, appreciate your time here on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon to you, Ashraf. Great speaking to you.
Right. Now, we know what the ConCourt said. I understand. I think the key thing for me now is your response, which is you want to now take this issue internationally. That does seem to be a bit dramatic, isn't it?
No, it's not dramatic. What we've always thought is that the Constitution and the Constitutional Court would protect human rights, but also including the human rights of Afrikaners. But now they've legalized the fact that people can say Afrikaners and farmers should be killed. And it's an issue of dignity. It's an issue of creating a future for our children. I have 4 children. And if they hear somebody says that Afrikaners should be killed, it means they should be killed. And the Constitutional Court should explain to them, because they, people can have all these stories that it's only meant figuratively. This is disrespect for the dignity of Afrikaners, and we have self-respect. We're not going to take this lying down, and that is why we will fight this with everything we have, also internationally, and we already instructed our legal team to look at what platforms there are, what international courts, what sections of the UN, to take this further. And then, of course, we'll also garner support from governments internationally.
Right. Now, I have to tell you, I mean, we often have these conversations on air here in the last 2 days, including today. People have expressed opinions about kill the Boer, kill the farmers. Some of them, the 90% who are in support of it, are saying it is symbolic. It's not an actual call to action. There's also many people who say it's a complete waste of time. And I'm talking about black people who may be supportive of the EFF, who say, it's outlived its purpose. But that's an EFF for them to decide on anyway, as well as maybe others who may bring it up, right? Significantly, in terms of your understanding, that the ruling that was made before and, confirmed by the Constitutional Court, right, is that it is largely a political statement and not a literal call. And if it was a literal call, then I would think that a whole lot more people would have actually been killed as part of a mass campaign eliminating white Afrikaner farmers, and that hasn't happened.
Well, it's actually a misunderstanding of the law to say that what is meant by something being sung. If you do something to cause harm to people, what seriously matters is how people perceive it, that hear it. So, it's very easy for people now to say, no, but it's not meant this way, it's not meant that way. I'm part of a community that has to hear we have to be killed. And it's quite clear. It's kill the Boer, kill the farmer. I'm also part of a community that then wants this country's president to condemn it. And of course the president then refuses to do so. We've written to him a letter in this regard. He refused to simply also answer that.
But you see, here's the point. I mean, why would the president be sort of baited out to condemn it when the Constitutional Court and all the other rulings now have confirmed that it is a politically symbolical act, although you may see it differently? So why would the president then go against the grain of what was agreed about in court? I mean, I think that would be naive of him if he does that.
Well, I don't think he should also, many of the things he says is not based on the law, and in this case, of course, the law is wrong. But if he's the president of everybody, he should realize what the feelings of alienation are amongst people that hear that they must be killed. But he should also know it's not only physical threats, also with regard to the Bella Act. It's a cultural threat, because that is an aim to destroy Afrikaans schools, which will threaten our cultural existence. And unfortunately, the president himself was directly involved with.
Okay, but I mean, I think the Bella Act we've chatted about, and I don't want to get into that now because we just won't have enough time, right? I just want to stay with this important issue. I'm saying to you, the Constitution effectively runs the country, and that's what the Constitution tells us, that it's okay because it's not literal. And I'm suggesting, if it was literal, and if the EFF, I mean the ANC chanted it before, but if the EFF have been chanting it all these years, then as a campaign to round up support to kill white Afrikaner farmers, then I'm suggesting that the EFF have failed miserably. Because farmers have been killed, but nowhere near the numbers that you may think about as a genocide, because then we would have masses. I mean, there's a mass murder problem in our country anyway, and the majority of people who die are actually black people anyway. So I'm suggesting the EFF then would have failed miserably in their campaign.
Yes, well, I think that is also a mistake to think there should be a direct link with regard to murders and, of course, the singing of the song, because how do you prove that, or how do you disprove that? But I think in this case, it's a question of dignity. Afrikaners signed up for the new dispensation, knowing that apartheid was not morally justifiable, knowing that it was not sustainable. And what was then said, well, we're going to have a constitution that would give protection to all, in terms of language, also in terms of dignity. But what has happened now, that whole trust of 1994 has been broken. this constitution does not protect our dignity if it allows somebody to say kill the Boer. And that might not be a popular view, but I owe it to my children to stand up for them and say, I will not accept it. If somebody can say they should be killed, even irrespective of what kind of...
I want to pick up on the killing, because I'm just again saying, if it doesn't translate into killing, then it is a symbol, a powerful symbol, and they talk about it as a symbol of a system. And yes, they do include the word Afrikaner and farmers, rather Boers or farmers, right? But here's something interesting. The minister in the presidency, Khumbudzo Ntshavheni, says that the South African police have met with AfriForum, which would probably be you guys, to clarify allegations of genocide with reference to farm murders. And this is what she said at yesterday's cabinet briefing.
To prevent further misinformation, the South African Police Services met with AfriForum to clarify the allegations of white genocide with reference to farm murders. At the meeting, AfriForum considered that the crime statistics as released by the Minister of Police are accurate, including on farm murders. It is common knowledge that some of the farm murders are committed by people known to the farmers, including their own family members. Cabinet is also aware of the false claim that there are approximately 72,000 white farmers who have signed up to relocate to the USA in response to the invitation by the US President. According to data, both from Agri-SA, Stats SA, and the Department of Agriculture, South Africa only has 41,000, just over 41,000 commercial farmers.
Okay, Kali, what do you make of that?
Well, I have to question the integrity of this minister because she's blatantly lying. The fact is, we had a meeting, but we agreed to disagree. We gave them our statistics. So I don't know how somebody can just say something like this when it's totally untrue. But of course, that is not something new to the presidency.
Okay, so what did you disagree on? You said you agreed to disagree. What did the stats say, and what did you say?
Well, they said there was one farm murder in the last 3 months, and we had 10 of them with names, with dates that we could give them. So where the minister gets the information from, I don't know.
Okay.
But it's probably just a discrediting campaign, and it's unfortunate that you have people that are lying blatantly in the presidency.
All right. I'm very keen to pick up on again, the symbolism around your act, taking it to the international court. You mentioned United Nations. Some people said ICJ as a country. I'm particularly interested in that. Let's get a thought on that right after this.
Honey, what are you doing?
I'm stretching for tonight.
I thought you're not dancing at bachelorette parties anymore.
Baby, we need the money to put Johnny through matric mos.
And what's the police uniform for?
The clients feel safer when I wear it.
No, man, just sell your bucky to We Buy Cars. They give the best prices and they pay you within minutes.
Okay, but can I just go and dance one more time, please? You know how much I love it.
No, the buyer's already on his way here.
Wow, okay.
Strapped for cash? Just sell your vehicle to We Buy Cars. The easiest way to sell your car by far.
A big storm is about to hit Mzansi as Daily Lotto will make it rain lots of cash this March with a guaranteed 1 million rand jackpot today. It's raining jackpots left, right and center with a flood of chances to win big. So grab your tickets now for your chance to make every day payday. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old or play responsibly. E2 is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Floods, wildfires, droughts. Climate change is here, impacting our communities. But South Africa has a plan. Just Transition. Led by President Cyril Ramaphosa, the Presidential Climate Commission is driving a low-carbon, climate-resilient economy, cutting emissions while creating jobs, skills, and social support. By investing in green industries and clean energy, we can build a fairer society for all. Action starts with open conversations between government, businesses, and communities. The time is now. Join the movement. #ClimateActionNow. #JustTransitionSA. This message is brought to you by GCIS.
Smart SME by Santam is tailor-made insurance built for small businesses. Even you, Austoli, selling scones from your kitchen, or you, Mr. Pana mixtape with the home studio. Smart SME is tailored insurance that covers it all. Your offices, stock, and cars. We cover the all in small business. Visit santam.co.za or SMS Smart SME to 34852 to get a quote. Santam, this is freedom. Santam is an authorized FSP, a licensed non-life insurer and controlling company for its group companies.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda.
Okay, and with me is Kali Creel, the CEO of AfriForum. The context of this, of course, is the ConCourt ruling that's not allowed the AfriForum, is not allowed leave to appeal regarding the issue of kill the Boer, kill the farmer, right? So Kali, yes, we can talk about the numbers, whether it's 10 or whether it's 1, but 10 is not 50,000 in a week. That's the type of genocide we talk about. When we talk about 40,000, 50,000 people dying in the Middle East in a space of a period, it's clear. I mean, you must concede it's nowhere near that level.
Yes, well, only yesterday News 24 had to publicly apologize to AfriForum because they falsely accused us of promoting the whole concept of genocide. Genocide is what you saw in Rwanda. Our point has always been, you have here a situation where people think that farmers must be killed. You have a president that denies the existence of farmers publicly, did so in New York. And you have a situation in terms of numbers, these numbers are not, in terms of numbers, as big as we have 72 people being killed in a country per day. But proportionally, if you look how few farmers there are, this is more or less twice the number of, proportionally, the danger of being a farmer is twice as big as that of police. But of course, there's also other areas where we see disproportionate murders. We see it with regard to gang violence. And what has government done in those instances? They declared it a priority crime. Even rhino poaching is a priority.
Okay, but I mean, you do know, I mean, gang violence, look, let's both agree that the issue of crime in the country is completely out of control. Yes. I mean, that's a fact, and that it cuts across color, language, groups, across the board, right? But we're going to have to wrap up in about 2 minutes' time. Let's then pick up on this issue about you saying it's difficult to explain. Well, I'm saying two things. One, I mean, just your response, I'm suggesting to you that if the EFF chant is a call to action, to literal action, then they failed miserably. I mean, do you not concede that?
Well, the fact is we have our protective structures, but they have not failed dismally because we are seeing people being tortured with blow torches, with irons, with hot water, even a drill being used to hurt somebody.
Okay.
And even if one person is tortured because of this, it's terrible enough.
But how do you link it? I mean, can you link that to the fact that that person has responded to the Malema call? That's my point, as opposed to normal murders.
The law does not think that you have to show a direct link between that. It's with regard to harm and it's with regard to dignity. And those are the issues. But this same government in the ICJ court against Israel, also Advocate Nitai Kobi, argued there's a song sung by the Israeli army that he then said promotes the killing of Palestinian people. Now, here in our own country, that same advocate argued totally differently. That this kind of song has no effect.
I think that the key part is if it has an effect. Okay, here's the last thing, right? Two things. You spoke about, you've got 4 children. I mean, obviously, completely sympathize with you. And we all have children and we all worried about our lives every single day, right? Insofar as having to explain to your children what this means, right? Why do you actually explain to the children about the context of South African history and saying, hold it, let me spend some time with them to say, actually, it's a political struggle song that is not literal? Why would you not take the time to explain that to them?
Well, they also see the gestures that Julius Malema makes, the sounds of the gun firing that he makes, the provocative way he sings it. So there's no way I can lie to them to tell them, no, he's just celebrating history. He's not doing that. And if the court thinks it's fine if you mimic the sound of gunfire, and you provoke people, then they can believe that. I don't should teach my children something I cannot believe.
Okay.
I teach my children they should have dignity and they should not respect anything or accept anything when they are threatened and their dignity is attacked by calling them to be killed.
All right, Kali, here's the last thing, right? In the context of all the conversations we've had in the last few weeks, not just on this show, but of course you and others, right? And the importance of reconciliation and nation building. Clearly, we don't get everything right, okay? And so far as Afrikaners have made a commitment to living in this country, in the same way, the vast majority actually made a commitment to actually forgive apartheid South Africa. That's why we had the TRC and amnesty and all that sort of thing, right? Now, are we not seeing a trend in the last month of yourself and your group asserting itself to such a point that you are putting yourself into a lager, and that's an Afrikaans word, but in English, there's the broader agenda is a separatist agenda, because that's what's coming through.
No, I think that's the perception that some in the leftist media establishment and in the political elite want to create. Of course, that is an orchestrated campaign that is false. But fortunately, I can tell you more than 80% of the people in the country, I believe, all want the same thing. They want a future for their children. They want mutual recognition and respect. And these political fights won't affect that. In fact, yesterday I was in Tabanshu with the Barlang Busaleka community and the royal family, where we launched another project where we do upliftment work. And we have agreements on grassroots level right across the country. So this is a false narrative to say there's this big division. We have a division and a break of trust with the political elite, but we continue to extend a hand of friendship to the normal people in the country.
Okay, to wrap up then, so you're saying that the potential issue of taking this internationally on the one hand, although the Constitutional Court believes differently to you, the issue of going to the United Nations, the issue of going to Donald Trump and his advisors, it has not harmed nation building in this country.
Now, what has harmed nation building is the president saying he wants to find South African solutions for South African problems, but he's lying in the process because we've written to him on numerous occasions. He simply ignored our letters. What choice do we have if we are being ignored and the president simply goes ahead with an act of aggression against our cultural survival with Bella? If he's silent on these things happening, we can't contact this man. We have to do something.
So we
will continue.
I understand your right to express yourself, but you genuinely don't think that even for every action that you take, as you may accuse the EFF of doing, that does not undermine our social cohesion in our country? It's so obvious for all of us to see.
No, not at all. What undermines our social cohesion is when people don't condemn kill the boer, kill the farmer. When people don't condemn the fact that government is actually putting our country at risk by playing around and disrespecting property rights, that would harm us. We will become like Zimbabwe and like millions of people fleeing the country.
Okay.
And the biggest loyalty you can have for the country is what we have. We will fight against what we believe is wrong, also in the interest of everybody. So if one wants to look for disloyalty, it's the ANC leaders that are enriching themselves at the cost of normal people in this country.
That's where we can leave it, Kali Kriel. I mean, it's interesting, the word loyalty. Kali Kriel, AfriForum CEO. I mean, here's the point about loyalty. What about the loyalty to the Constitution and the rulings of the Con Court? It's a debate I suppose we can talk about all throughout the week or the weekend, isn't it? Let's get to the news headlines. Here's Utsila.
Thank you, Ashraf. In the headlines, Public Works and Infrastructure Minister Dean McPherson has committed to ensuring that companies involved in corruption and abandon government projects unfinished face the full might of the law. 3 people have been killed in a shootout with police in Reservoir Hills in Durban. KwaZulu-Natal Police spokesperson Jay Naika says officers tried to stop a vehicle being used by suspects who were allegedly on their way to commit a house robbery. And the Israeli military has struck a building in southern Beirut. Earlier, the army had told residents in the suburb of Dahia to evacuate. Details at 5 o'clock with Jolani Weapon.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Here's one we'll watch. The N1 North in Pretoria crash up by Rigel Avenue. It is a Friday. It is month end. It's a high volume route, that one, already backlogging through towards Buata Avenue territory. Smash on the M1 going south, just holding up, coming off at William Mandela. The crashes at William Mandela and Leslie's. All that traffic on the M1 from Buccleuch really struggling to come off and turn up into the four-ways area. And a smash on the N3 south at Elands interchange. Really heavy today from sort of Alexandra area down through Galilees into that one. Durban, chock-a-block on the N2 between King Shaka and Quamash. There's a crash at Sabaya and a breakdown before you get to Gateway, so it's very heavy on the N2. The N4 carrying a bit of extra volume, but it's still going to be quicker to get into Durban on the route first. There's also a breakdown going north, by the way, up at Gateway. The M4 Southern Freeway leaving town, a crash down by Rossborough before the M7, so that's quite sluggish, and a breakdown into Pietermaritzburg just by Market Road. Queues heavy back towards Ashburton. Cape Town, collision on the N7 north opposite Dunoon. That's a queue from Plattercliff Road heading up towards the Malabongwe Drive exit, and a smash on the N1 into town just by Kuberg interchange, causing some delays coming past Sable Road. That N7 south is about a plus 45-minute delay to get through from the N1 down towards the work zone at 4 Trekker Road. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
Right, Chumi, let's talk sport, let's talk football. You've got news about a football transfer.
Yes, Maruma Gallants have confirmed the signing of Dinon Ndlovu on a short-term deal. The 35-year-old joins on a free agent after leaving Turkey's second division, where he has scored 6 goals in 20 outings in the 2023-24 season. The striker will boost the club's attacking line as they look to avoid relegation. He's played in Israel, Cyprus, Azerbaijan, China and Turkey. So, Dinon Ndlovu back in the PSL after 10 years abroad. Meanwhile, SuperSport United assistant coach Grant Johnson says that focus will be on the players' mindset under newly appointed head coach Andrea Renza. United parted ways with the club's most successful coach Gavin Hunt following a string of poor results, and the Tshwane side next hosts Cape Town City at the new Peter Mokaba Stadium in Polokwane this weekend. And Johnson says that the players' mental strength is key.
Definitely. A lot of the things we need to do differently is more a mental thing. Get the players more positive approach, get them confidence in themselves. Because when you're at the bottom there and you've had a couple of losses, people become a bit negative and they stop believing in themselves. And that's something we need to change. We need to get their confidence up, get them believing in themselves, and let them know that they are the best players in the country.
On the other hand, Johnson says that he does feel for Hunt. However, he also understands that it's the nature of the job.
It's always a surprise, you know. I've worked with Gavin now for a few years, and he's a fantastic coach with lots of experience. Unfortunately, the club feels that they want to move in a different direction, and that he wasn't part of that. It's unfortunate, but in football that happens, you know. We all feel a bit sad about it, but you've got to realise that there's more at stake than that. And so as coaches, we need to move forward and progress with the team and get results to keep us in the PSL.
Ashraf, just talking about Hunt, I actually have a comment from one of our listeners.
I thought from Gavin Hunt himself. Yeah.
No.
His daughter's commenting, by the way. She's
yes.
Like, how can we have a league without Gavin Hunt? I noticed that.
Yeah, well, one of our listeners says, wasn't Gavin Hunt coaching SuperSport United, which sells any player at any time of the season? I doubt this is about evolving to the modern game. You can't keep selling all your talent and expect consistent results.
But has he done that this time round? You know, we're not talking about the past. Has he done it now?
Still staying with football, Manchester City face Bournemouth in the FA Cup quarterfinals on Sunday, looking to keep alive their last chance of silverware in a tough season. City are the last of the Premier League's big guns, still standing as Nottingham Forest, Fulham and Brighton headline the FA Cup's year of the underdog. In rugby, Ruan Venter is in line for a 50th appearance for the Lions as the side prepared to take on defending Vodacom United Rugby Championship champions Glasgow Warriors tomorrow tomorrow. Venter is part of an unchanged starting lineup as coach Ivan van Rooyen has kept faith in the team. This is despite their failings against Cardiff. On the bench, though, Reinhard Jonker comes in place for Henkel van Wyk, who suffered a foot injury. Then moving on to running news, SA's running sensation Gerda Steyn will be looking to extend her record with a 6th Two Oceans Marathon title next weekend. Now, Steyn is the clear favourite to secure yet another win at the iconic ultra marathon in Cape Town, and she says that she's very pleased with her preparations.
My preparation for the Two Oceans Ultra Marathon is going really well. I'm pleased with where I am at the moment in terms of my fitness. I am exactly where I plan to be at this stage, and there's about 5.5 weeks left of training, and I'm planning to just continue in the way that I've been training until now. So very, very excited for the 5th of April.
Ending things off with cricket, England batter Joe Root has firmly ruled himself out of stepping into the shoes of being the captain of England's ODI team. The announcement comes after Jos Buttler's recent resignation from the post, and Root stressed that he believes that his time as a captain is over and now is fully focused on playing for England in their upcoming Test series against India and the Ashes in Australia later this year. On that note, it is a wrap from my side for now.
Okay, we will talk again just now about your weekend plans. Not quite now. I mean, like the whole country wants to know about it later on. In an hour.
Get the iPhone 16 5G from Vodacom, Mzansi's fastest 5G network. The iPhone 16 is built for Apple Intelligence, helping you write, express yourself, and get things done effortlessly. Get it from only 949 Rand per month over 36 months. Enhance your deal. Trade in and save up to 21,000 Rand. Available in-store or online. T's and C's apply. Further together. Vodacom.
Are you still receiving television through analog? If your household monthly income is 3,500 Rand or less, you qualify for free government decoder and installation. Analog television transmission will be switched off on the 31st of March 2025. Don't be left behind. Apply today at your nearest post office or through stbregistration.gov.za to receive your free decoder and installation or to check your registration status. Hashtag Chincha Ungasali. Hashtag Go Digital. For more info, send a WhatsApp message to 0600 625 458 or call 0860 736 832. Email support@sentech.co.za. Web chat sentech.co.za or Facebook Messenger @Sentech Ltd.
A big storm is about to hit Mzansi as Daily Lotto will make it rain lots of cash this March with a guaranteed 1 million Rand jackpot today. It's raining jackpots left, right and center with a flood of chances to win big. So grab your tickets now for your chance to make every day payday. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old or play responsibly. E2 is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Right now, SASSA Gold Card beneficiaries can still come and collect their new Postbank Black Card. Avoid the risk of not receiving your grant. Join over 1.3 million beneficiaries that are already conveniently receiving their grant using the Postbank Black Card. There are multiple selected outlets nationwide where you can swap your SASSA Gold Card for the new Postbank Black Card. What you need to do is dial *120 *355#. You got that? *120 *355# to find one near you. Standard rate supply, Postbank, your bank.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
All right, let's get to those numbers with Makwe Masilela, Chief Investment Officer at Makwe Fund Managers. Makwe, good to connect. Local and global numbers up in a moment, but let's talk about Telkom first.
Afternoon to you and to your listeners. Yes, Telkom, their daily trading update. Ashraf, profits are expected to increase by 10%, and that is due to the profit that they'll be getting from the sale of SwiftNet. Remember, that's their mast and towers business, and they're looking to get almost 6.5 billion. And market participants are really cautious and wary of Trump and his policies, even more than the policies. The guys are worried about the flip-flopping, and that makes people really nervous to make long-term investment decisions that include companies and investors. And tariffs and their effect on the global economy, as well as the potential, they've got the potential to delay the central bank's rate cuts, and that have to weigh negatively when it comes to stocks in recent weeks. And traders started the session today focusing on the February personal consumption expenditure from the US, and we know that the Fed's favorite inflation gauge, and unfortunately it rose at a stubborn pace in February, and household demand was weaker than expected. Knee-jerk reaction was a firmer dollar, and bets on rate cuts declined. And Ashraf, Trump is using tariffs as a bargaining tool, and also maybe as a way of causing a temporary setback for the US economy, so that come September this year, he will have all the reasons and evidence that there's a need to cut taxes in the US to help to stimulate the economy, and also maybe as a case for the US interest rates cut, and then by more than 0.5% again this year. And after rising as the US ramped up pressure on Venezuela and Iran, oil prices seems to be attempting to cool off, weighed by worries that tariff war could cap demand. And we see Brent crude is up a mere 0.1% at $73 a barrel. And tariff concerns and hotter than expected US inflation drove the yellow metal to new record highs. We see gold is up 0.8% at $3,080, and platinum is down 0.9% at $979. And inflation and tariffs rattled the markets, but the JSE managed small gains held by resources, and the rand weakened 0.7% against the US dollar, is now 18.35, 23.80 against the pound, and 19.88 against the euro.
All right, perfect. You have a great weekend, Mark. We're looking forward to that, I'm sure about it, and we will connect on Monday.
You are listening to the National Pulse with Ashraf Garda.
Okay, so we're going to get an update on the budgets for the Eastern Cape coming up in a moment, right? But let's now reflect on the conversation I had earlier on with Kali Creel, by the way. And you can catch it as a podcast. It should be up pretty shortly. And let me also remind you of our fabulous guest for 5 o'clock. It's the CEO of Business Leadership South Africa, Busi Mavuso. Real 1 hour engagement with her, and I look forward to chatting to her, and please do join in as well. Now, picking up on the Kali Creel story, the ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula spoke to journalists today on the sidelines of the ANC NEC meeting, and this is what Mbalula had to say about Kill the Boer.
As the ANC, we're not chanting kill the Boer, kill the farmer, because we don't believe it is relevant at the present moment. But we wouldn't stop others from chanting. It is not banned, it is not illegal, as it is now defined by the Constitutional Court. But as an ANC, we don't think that chanting that slogan is relevant to the cause at the present moment. We wouldn't chant that slogan, neither will we actually water it down by saying kiss the Boer. Because when we chant that slogan, it had a particular meaning about guerrillas who were fighting across the Limpopo, coming back home, and then confronting the commandos in the battlefront, particularly in the Limpopo, and being killed there, infiltrating the country and coming back home. The background to it then meant, as a chant in the camps, as we prepare to infiltrate the country, the slogan came up, kill the Boer, kill the farmer, because these farmers were acting as commandos of the South African Defence Force, which belonged to apartheid. We don't have commandos now, we don't have Defence Force, we don't have threats of farmers who are collaborating with an unjust state. We have a democratic state. So for us in the ANC, there's no justification to insist on singing kill the Boer, kill the farmer. The focus for us now is transformation, and transformation the economy for the best interest of others. But we cannot prescribe to other political parties with what they must sing, what they must chant, what they cannot chant. So that's where we stand in relation to that matter.
Okay, interesting position coming from the ANC, in particular their Secretary General, right? Okay, let's move on to other issues now, and let's talk about the Eastern Cape. We'll talk about the Eastern Cape's budget speech and reflect on that in a moment.
Ashraf Garda on the National Pulse.
Okay, so we'll do this now. The Eastern Cape's MEC of Finance, Mlungisi Mvoko, delivered the province's budget speech on the 25th of March, so a couple of days ago. The MEC now joins us on the line to talk about some of the key factors around it. So, MEC, appreciate your time. Thanks for connecting on the National Pulse. MEC, do I have you there?
All right.
Yeah, thanks for connecting. You're live on the National Pulse.
Oh, great. Greetings, Ashraf.
Much appreciate your time. Right, of course, it's been a busy time for you delivering the budget speech a couple of days, 3 days ago, I think it is, right? Let's, one of the key factors of your budget speech talked about inclusive growth and development through government allocative efficacy. I mean, how does that then compare to, say, the national budget speech that was delivered?
Actually, as you know, that we're getting our allocation from the national budget, and it's never been enough for the province. So our team talks about how we got to actually get the value, achieve value for every rand that we spend. We get the maximum impact in development to the last rand spent. So that's how it relates to it. So we are driving through our team that says this budget is supporting the inclusive growth and development as a priority of government. That we are encouraging provincial government to spend the budget.
Right. Big issue, of course, is education and health. Those are issues that we all are sensitive to. 97 billion allocated to it. How does that link up in terms of your region and delivering on the commitment you make to your citizens?
Firstly, the two departments, health and education, take the biggest slice of our budget. Precisely the nature of the departments, the biggest departments, as you would know. Now, how it links up, as you would know, firstly, that we introduced a zero-based budgeting sometime, I think it was in 2021, where each department would come and present, and it would not be incremental, saying, this is what you got, so we're adding. They had to justify each and every item on the budget. So the Department of Education, 31 billion of the 44 billion that they're getting goes to post-provision norm. So it just tells you that with those two departments, the biggest department, there are already non-negotiables that are there. But we've allocated to the department, if you look at the Department of Education, it includes school nutrition, it includes the sport transport, which is the biggest challenge that we have in the Department of Education. It also includes early childhood development, because now we have, since it has been transferred from the social development department to the education department, got to cater for it. And if we talk about the Department of Health, which got about 31 billion out of that, part of what we will be spending, it is a rollout of programs that will deal with HIV and AIDS, TB, etc. But it also deals with the issue of employment of doctors, and nurses to buy medicines and other medical supplies. So that's how the two departments get such big slices, because in their nature, they are big departments. We have to really deserve to get bigger than any other.
I mean, interesting you mentioned nurses and doctors. I know we've had chats with others around the mass number of unemployed doctors in the country, particularly in the Eastern Cape as well. I mean, in terms of the budget allocation, therefore, around doctors and nurses, I mean, does that go some way to alleviating the problem?
Not entirely, Ashraf, I must say. Not entirely, but it will go a long way to be able to absorb some doctors. Because remember, it's not only doctors, but it's also nurses. They will go a long way in absorbing a number of doctors and nurses.
What about, unemployment is a national crisis, and there's no other way to water it down. It's also a crisis in your region, right? If budget allocation reflects where your priorities lie, what's the priority to turn that around?
When it comes to unemployment, the only way in which we can create employment, Ashraf, is allocating budget that would service or bring about infrastructure programs and projects. So we've allocated quite a lot when it comes to that. If you look at human settlements for rural interventions, as well as incremental interventions and informal settlement upgrading. We've allocated for that.
Okay, just put that on pause. I'll pick up on that in a moment.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, or unfair blacklisting, clientele legal plans are affordable, and you receive up to 670,000 rands worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our legal team will be your support 24 hours a day. SMS Radio 2000 to 31372. That's Radio 2000 to 31372. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and a licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
A big storm is about to hit Mzansi as Daily Lotto will make it rain lots of cash this March with a guaranteed 1 million rand jackpot today. It's raining jackpots left, right and center with a flood of chances to win big. So grab your tickets now for your chance to make every day payday. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529 hash for USSD. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old and play responsibly. E2 is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Something big is coming. 6:30 will never be the same. Amalanga Wafani, only on SABC 1. The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda.
Okay, let's wrapping up our conversation now with the MEC for the Eastern Cape, MEC Mlungisi Mvoko. So, of course, this is in relation to the budget speech delivered in that province a few days ago, right? So, let's just pick up on the issue of the unemployment once again. So, one is the issue of unemployment and the link in terms of how you allocate it, particularly around entrepreneurship, which I'm interested in,
Yes, as you know, that the Eastern Cape Development Corporation is one entity in the province that is charged with trade and investment. We've done a lot of, a huge allocation for them to recapitalize some of its key business support programs, which would include the Economic Development Fund, which was a fund we introduced 2 years ago. When we started it, we gave them 100 million rand, which is for the Economic Development Fund, MSME support, recapitalization, and trade and investment. We've also allocated some funds to the Automotive Industry Development Center, which drives the automotive industry in the province, as you would know. But over and above that, two SEZs that we have, the two SEZs are actually become the biggest investment attraction entities in the province, and so they create a lot of quite a number of jobs. So we also allocated a lot to them.
Okay.
That's without talking about the rapid response priority program in the Office of the Premier, which talks about the small town revitalization program, which also deals mostly with infrastructure, and you have your integrated youth development, both in the Office of the Premier and in the Department of Education, basic education in the province. So we did allocate to the various departments in order for them to create jobs through infrastructure or programs that are directed to the youth.
So finally, climate change is a big issue. It has a global impact. It certainly has an impact on South Africa. What's the plan regarding planning and budgeting for natural disasters in that region?
We actually took a resolution in our executive council to say each department must budget 2% of its own, must allocate 2% of its own budget towards disasters. And we as provincial treasurer will set aside 60 million rand for that. So that will give us 295.5 million rand payment for the financial year 25-26. But for the MTF, it will give us 788.2 million rand. We're doing this, Ashraf, because in order for you to get the funds that are dispersed nationally, it's a process. Firstly, you must declare a disaster, you must go and assess, and you can't wait that long. We're doing this so that by the time that you're doing waiting for the declaration and also doing the assessment, the departments are also, can easily do the small things like getting temporary shelters, like buying blankets and food, like relocating people to homes without waiting for funds that will come from elsewhere. Mm-hmm. So that's how we are dealing with it. We are hoping that it will go a long way in dealing with the most crucial things, immediately after disaster, while awaiting the bigger allocation that might come from the national government.
Well, perfect.
From national treasury.
Okay, let's leave it at that, MEC. Look forward to having a chat with you about how this translates from budget to actual rollout sometime in the future. Much appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Afrosh.
Thank you. Right. So, by the way, we'll have a chat with Busi Mavuso coming up as part of the Friday Fireside Chat. Really looking forward to that, but I'll get to some of your thoughts in a moment.
Whether we are at the workplace, within communities, at school, or with our friends and family, we all need to demonstrate the kind of responsibility that we would like to see in our country's future. SFM commemorates Human Rights Month. X at SFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
Right, let's get some of your comments. Couldn't take all the calls today, unfortunately. Just sometimes we just have too many issues we need to be covering, but here's some of it.
Ashraf, I cannot understand how in any country, let alone one riddled with one of the highest rates of murder in the world, such as South Africa, a song about killing anyone, regardless of race, is deemed okay. Imagine if the song was kill the cop, kill the minister, or kill the president. Would it still be deemed freedom of speech because of its apartheid history? Would it be relevant? This really makes no sense, it's terribly divisive, and I hope it will be stopped. Thanks, Farai.
Well, thanks for that, Farai. Well, so Farai, I have no doubt you're going to get the entire country thinking about that point, isn't it? To say, even use the word kill, even if it's symbolical, is it right in a crime-ridden country?
Ashraf, this is Grant from the Free State. Everybody in the country lives in their own townships. Orania is a township. Why not make your own township the way you want it? If you like Orania so much, make your township just like Orania.
Okay, point made.
Ashraf, yes, Wilson here, East London. Ashraf, you know this song of kill the boy, kill the farmer. Yeah, we understand the history, but you know, sometimes as people, we must sit down, cool down, and say, why I have to sing about killing someone? Why? Really, there are issues of land, we can discuss that. But this song is wrong. It's wrong.
Okay, it's amazing how many people, and not just today, over the last few days, we've had people saying, it's just wrong.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Just listening to you speak to that EF representative. You know what? We're sick and tired of the fact that they cannot group together and build something that they are happy with. So they constantly have to look to tear other people's lives down. As far as I know, Orania is a privately owned farm, and people have a right to actually stay together. It's a right of association. It's a language, it's a culture. That's what it is. So why must other people who are incapable and incompetent and just want to voice their opinions try to stop other people from having a good life?
Okay.
Mark from Cape Town.
Thanks, Mark. I wish I could take more calls. I'm going to play one last one about Burkina Faso.
Good afternoon, Bishop Magwana from Leboa Home Zone F. Look, Ashraf, I just want to dispel the notion that the coup d'etat dictator of Burkina Faso is doing anything good in that country. That country is bad. People are still living below $1. So when people praise that man, they must praise that man based on results. There are no good results there. The people of Burkina Faso don't even praise him. It is you outsiders. We actually are incapacitated.
You outsiders need to probably Google more about Ibrahima Traore, if I got that name right, leader of Burkina Faso. Right, that's it in terms of calls for now, but you certainly can connect when we chat with Busi Mavuso, the CEO of Business Leadership South Africa, in our Friday Fireside Chat. First things first, let's get the news at 5.
Top stories: Asawa McPherson vows to fight companies abandoning government projects, and the Israeli military strikes a building in southern Beirut. Good afternoon. I'm Jolani Tulo Mwebe. Public Works and Infrastructure Minister Dean McPherson has committed to ensuring that companies involved in corruption and abandoned government projects unfinished face the full might of the law. He says government loses billions, like in the case of the Sarah Bartman Centre of Remembrance in Hanki in the Eastern Cape. Despite 10 years of construction, 3 different contractors and 247 million rand spent, the centre remains nowhere near completion. He says it cannot be correct that contractors are getting away scot-free, while the poor who must benefit from such projects are left to suffer.
The slow pace of delisting of non-performing or corruption-accused suppliers or contractors was revealed. Since 2002, only 1 company has been delisted. This is simply unacceptable and needs to be urgently addressed if we want to reverse this culture of impunity. We have also tasked the CIDB to urgently get ahead of underperforming contractors and blacklist them without delay, and to ensure that they are unable to gain any tenders from any sphere or entity of the state.
3 people have been killed in a shootout with police in Reservoir Hills, north of Westville in Durban. KwaZulu-Natal spokesperson Jay Naika says officers tried to stop a vehicle being used by suspects who were allegedly on their way to commit a house robbery. Naika says the suspects opened fire on the police.
3 suspects were fatally wounded and 2 firearms were recovered. Police officers also found a grenade in the vehicle. 2 police officers were grazed by the bullets on the head during the shootout, and the 2 members were treated on the scene by paramedics. Further investigation has revealed that these suspects were wanted for a spate of cash-in-transit robbery cases going as far back as 2021. Investigations are ongoing to determine if there are any other cases in which the suspects were involved in. The recovered firearms will be subjected to ballistic tests.
A 58-year-old teacher has been arrested for allegedly repeatedly raping a 13-year-old learner at a primary school outside Polokwane in Limpopo. Provincial Education Department spokesperson Mike Maringa says the teacher was found with the learner at the school office yesterday. Maringa says social workers have been dispatched to counsel the learner while police investigations continue.
The Limpopo Department of Education commends the principal of the school where the 13-year-old is a learner who took effort to report this matter for further handling by the police. We are sending social workers, since the schools are now on recess, to further take the matter up with the family and the learner at home. We shall await the investigation by police, and as the department will also start our own investigation internally to ascertain what has transpired.
The East London Magistrates Court has granted 2,000 rand bail to the former SAA board member Ntombiyakhe Kwinana. The court ruled that she is not a flight risk and that there is no evidence she could intimidate or harass her alleged victims. Part of her bail conditions include that she does not communicate with any of the witnesses and report once a week to a police station. Kwinana faces charges of malicious damage to property and extortion. Magistrate Lutando Screech had this to say.
Even though there is a video that is there, the applicant has sought legal representation, and the applicant it is not possible for the applicant to skip the grant, as I've indicated. Therefore, the fact that the state has in its possession that evidence, in my view, or I do not believe that indeed that will cause the applicant to flee the country or to run away from the police officials. Indeed, the interests of justice do permit her release.
The Israeli military has struck a building in southern Beirut. Earlier, the army had told residents in the suburb of Tahrir to evacuate. Online footage showed people fleeing in panic. Hezbollah said the incidents appeared to be part of what it called attempts to create pretexts for the continuation of Israeli military action in Lebanon. The BBC's Hugo Bashega has the details.
This is the first Israeli airstrike on Beirut's southern suburbs since a ceasefire with Hezbollah came into force in November. The attack happened hours after 2 rockets were fired from southern Lebanon towards northern Israel. The Israeli military said it had intercepted one of the rockets while the other failed to cross the border. Hezbollah said it was not involved in the attack, the second from Lebanon in a week. The latest developments put further pressure on the fragile ceasefire, but for now the deal is likely to survive.
Recapping the top story, the SAWA Public Works and Infrastructure Minister Dean McPherson has committed to ensuring that companies involved in corruption and abandoned government projects unfinished face the full might of the law. He says government loses billions, like in the case of the Sarah Baartman Centre of Remembrance in Hanki in the Eastern Cape. For SFM News, I'm Jolani Tulo-Webe.
And coming up in your sports, the SAWA Blitzboks finished third in Pool B on the opening day of the Hong Kong Sevens after a mix of wins and losses. Mamelodi Sundowns set their sights on Sekhukhune in the Nedbank Cup, while the streets of Joburg gear up for the Joburg City Marathon this weekend. More details at 5:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Right, let's get into the Friday Fireside Chat. So every Friday, in the last hour, we stop talking about other issues. We talk to one person, but the good news about multiple issues. Some things are maybe friendly and not so friendly, and big current affairs issues, and some things are just about their profile and their lives. And the plan is that you'll be inspired, but certainly you'll learn a lot about that person, because inevitably it's a person with a high degree of public prominence. My guest today, or the person who joins me today really on the Fireside Chat, is the CEO of Business Leadership South Africa. It's Busi Mavuso. Busi, good to connect with you. It's a long time.
It is a long time, Ashraf. Brilliant to connect with you. Thank you so much for inviting me. Looking forward to the conversation.
Absolutely. There's a lot to learn. I mean, yes, we know you're the CEO of Business Leadership SA, but perhaps it's a good time to tell you, how did you get there? I mean, what's your journey?
A very, very long journey, not very direct. Actually had to do a lot of turns and going back and going forward, that 5 steps forward and 2 steps back and whatever the case is. So maybe let me start at the beginning. Ashraf, I was born and bred in Soweto, White City, Jabavu, to be precise. Did all my schooling there, matriculated at a very tender age of 16, and because of the
so you were bright. I mean, if you matriculated at 16, you were bright. Okay, got that.
I always have been, of course.
Okay, yeah.
So, but really it was an environment of financial constraints, limited access to resources, limited access to quality education, limited access to career guidance. All of those were harsh reality, and when I matriculated, I then couldn't go to varsity full time. I wanted to be a chartered accountant. Always wanted to be a chartered accountant.
So why that? You said always chartered accountant. Like when did that happen? Grade 6,
always
grade 7?
Chartered accountant. Interestingly enough, I just happened to be good at maths and accounting. And I thought, you're good at maths and accounting, surely you're going to be a chartered accountant. Had no clue what it meant, Ashraf. I just knew good at accounting, you're going to be a chartered.
Yeah.
It just sounded good, So hence, I think the bit about, it was a very limited career guidance, as well. So I applied after matric at various universities. I was accepted at quite a number of them, and I decided that I wanted to go to RAU. It was RAU at the time, now I think it's UJ, the Auckland campus. I went there for the first week, Ashraf, but I think after my 4th or 5th day or whatever the case is, I don't remember, and obviously that week was the week of orientation, my mom had to actually sit me down and say, you can't go back to varsity. Actually I can't afford it. I don't have the money to even pay for registration. you know, so which meant that after my 4 days of tasting university, I actually had to drop out. I did some I don't even know what that secretarial PA course was in the city of Joburg, very dingy building. We could just see, you know, that this thing was just a scam, you know, but my mom didn't want me loitering at home. So I actually did that, you know, until I came across an opportunity where APSA at the time, it wasn't APSA, you know.
Okay, hold that opportunity, because I want to know what happened next with the APSA opportunity right after this.
This Easter, ShopRite gives you lower prices so that you can enjoy a bigger Easter egg hunt, a bigger feast with bigger sides and roast, bigger smiles with your loved ones, and even bigger savings on deals like 50ml Shield Roll-On, buy 2 for just 40 Rand, and 100ml Colgate Regular or Herbal Toothpaste for just 21.99 each. Valid until 6 April. Make Easter bigger with our low prices. Only at ShopRite.
Timber, have you filed your business tax return?
Ah, Joe. With My Way Business Insurance, I get My Business Assist, which gives me loads of benefits. They assist in filing my taxes, so no long queues. Plus, I get tender notifications, marketing services, and more to help me elevate my hustle.
They do what?
Yeah, bro. Thanks to My Way, now I have time to focus on the real deal, which is growing my business.
Move to My Way Business Insurance today and get covered to do business your way. Visit myway.co.za for a quote. My Business Assist is a value-added product. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's apply.
Abafana besithende want to ensure that Amakhosi walk off the pitch empty-handed, but the Golden Black Boys from Naturena are chasing 3 points to cement their spot in the top half. Catch the unmatched passion and drama of Mzansi's beautiful game. Golden Arrows versus Kaizer Chiefs this Saturday, 29 March at 2:30 p.m. live on SABC1 and on SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Also available everywhere for everyone on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda.
So it's already fascinating. Busi Mavuso, the CEO of Business Leadership SA, what we know is a bright kid in school, always knew she wanted to be a chartered accountant, finished matric at 16, gets to varsity for 4 days, and effectively gets kicked out, I suppose because there's no money. Takes on a job in a dingy company, in a dingy building rather, in the city of Joburg, and then up comes APSA. Busi, continue the story.
So then I get to know about an opportunity, and I guess it was 1994, so it was 1995 this time, and I guess because we had just attained our democracy as a country, I think this was probably maybe the first wave, you know, of affirmative action, employment equity, and what we were going to know, you know, in time to do the triple BE. So a whole lot of corporate South Africa were on this drive of trying to bring young black people, you know, into their institutions. And I got to know of that opportunity. You know, they were looking for matriculants, you know, those who actually had maths, accounting, business, economics, and whatever case, the commercial stream. And I applied, and I was actually accepted. It was very interesting. They were only looking for 17 people, Ashraf. And there was more than 250 of us who sat for those aptitude tests, you know. So we were then, you know, selected, a group of 17 of us, and we were obviously there. And I was actually saying it was not upside the time, you know, those who are old enough would remember the Volkskas Trust Bank, Allied Bank United, and we were posted into all those different banks. And at 17, that was my first job, Allied Bank in Randburg.
Okay, so how then did you... At some stage, you got back into varsity. When did that happen?
And in 1996, because I always wanted to be a chartered accountant. My mother believed in education. She always encouraged us to study. So I actually had to then get my tertiary education through studying, you know, at UNISA. I applied in 1996 for my BCom accounting degree. Took me a very long time. Took me 9 years to finish my degree. You know, it was very difficult, Ashraf, to now have to understand and comprehend this different way of studying. You know, because before that, you sit in a classroom, in a desk, in front of a teacher. You are told what sections to focus on for the exams. All of a sudden, I go to Pretoria once a year. get this, thick pile of textbooks. They see you when you write exams again. So just trying to navigate, how do I actually comprehend everything that is in? How do I even study all of this? Do these people even expect me to read all of these books? And so it was very difficult. I failed a whole lot of courses along the way. And as I'm saying, it took me 9 years, but I eventually got my degree in 2004. And I think everything that I've attained, thereafter, my postgraduate qualification, my 2 master's degrees, my qualification as a chartered accountant, and my doctorate studies that I'm actually busy with at the moment, has all been through distance and correspondence education.
Including the masters in philosophy. I mean, that's a complete turnaround from the chartered accountant.
You get to leadership and you probably maybe get to realize and appreciate that what got me here is not what is going to get me to my next level. So I had the technical expertise. I was in accounting and finance, for I think almost 20 years. You get to leadership and you understand that the traits that I actually need to be able to navigate the spaces that I'm in, are actually going to be different. And maybe and that is why my master's was even a master's in business leadership, and then master's in philosophy. Even my doctorate is not in accounting, it's in something different. And I think at this stage of my life, I'm studying things that I'm passionate about, instead of things that will get me to my next career, because I'm not there.
All right.
Anymore.
Let's fast forward. How then did you get to the position of Business Leadership SA, the CEO there?
So Business Leadership South Africa, so I started banking industry for the first 7 years. I did a multiple, industries after that, all in finance. Fast forward 2009, I leave Netcare as a financial manager. I go to the Black Management Forum, and I really think that was a huge turnaround for me in my career, because I think it really introduced me to the importance of the socio-economic context and environment and the importance of championing that. Because as you know, the Black Management Forum obviously deals with the issues of Black professionals within corporates. And I think that is where I actually got my activism side activated. And I'm saying activated because obviously it was always there, but I think I just never had the platform, and I just never had, an opportunity to really tap into it. So I really then got to realize just how important the issue of socio-economic justice is, for me. Whenever I talk about these issues, Ashraf, a lot of people say, why are you always so angry? Why are you always fighting? Why are you always... It's passion, hey? I'm really, this is really important for me. Ashraf, coming where I come from, in terms of the environment, in terms of the mainly, as I said, harsh realities that one had to actually, deal with, the lived experience. You actually get to realize that, sometimes even the most gifted of us can be held back by the limitations of your circumstances, can be held back by the limitations of your environment. It can be right that 30 years into democracy, a function of success is whether you are born on this side of the M1 bridge, on this side of the M1 bridge. I've gotten to appreciate over time that sometimes even the most talented of us, don't have access to the opportunities. Someone once said, talent is fairly distributed, but opportunities are not.
You agree with that?
I absolutely agree with that. I get to even realize that even our parents included, Ashraf, could have been more successful in a different kind of era, in a different kind of environment, in a different kind of country, in a different kind of world, and really sometimes the difference between succeeding and failing in this life can be influenced by your environment. And I think that is really unfair, because shouldn't this be about, your self-determination, what you put in is what you get out, what all of those good things, that we were actually told, growing up, that work hard and you will have a good life.
And it's not like that.
People who are working hard.
Well, I want to find out.
Not like that.
I want to find out about your work. I want to find out about your work at Business Leadership SA, and very importantly, what does actually get you angry? Since you say people say you get angry all the time, so what does get you angry? Right after this.
Clientele funeral plans provide lasting dignity for you and your family. Plans pay out cash within 24 hours and include grocery, transport, and unveiling benefits. You can cover up to 13 people on one plan. Get peace of mind today. SMS Radio 2000 to 45538. That's Radio 2000 to 45538. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
A big storm is about to hit Mzansi as Daily Lotto will make it rain lots of cash this March with a guaranteed 1 million rand jackpot today. It's raining jackpots left, right and center with a flood of chances to win big. So grab your tickets now for your chance to make every day payday. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old or play responsibly. E2 is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Spar brings you Super Saturday for one day only with incredible savings you can't miss. Get 1.5-litre Coca-Cola regular. Buy 4 for 56 Rand. Save 28 Rand. 440ml Coca-Cola, Fanta, Sprite or Stony. Any 4 for 36 Rand. Save 16 Rand. All 300ml Coca-Cola, Fanta, Sprite or Stony. 6-pack. Any 2 for 70 Rand. Save 36 Rand. Prices valid 29 March only. While stocks last. Spar Rewards. Sign up for more.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Right, so with me is the CEO of Business Leadership SA as part of our Friday Fireside Chat. By the way, as always, we hardly have enough time, so maybe maximum 3, calls or WhatsApp messages. You can do that right away, but ideally, it doesn't have to be. Ideally, with someone who knows Busi well. It's like, hey, I know you and listening to you, that's great. But otherwise, it could be anybody else. Maybe time for 3 calls maximum is what we can really allow on this feature. Well, let's talk about your work at Business Leadership SA. What do you do there? And what does it mean?
So BLSA is a membership-based organization. We are a representative of big business in this country, so we're the voice of big business, and we really exist to ensure that the environment within which business operates is a conducive environment. Very powerful space, Ashraf. The corporates that we represent, I think, are responsible for about 30% of the GDP, and they contribute, I think, about 400 billion, if I'm not mistaken, to taxes. When I think in terms of the numbers, in terms of the footprint, of BLSA members is actually quite huge. It's about the top 100 JSE listed companies in this country. So that is where the power really is. When we look at the 4 social partners in this country, government, business, civil society, and labor, business is we're not the biggest social partner. We have the most disproportionate resources, and I really often look at what do we do and how do we utilize our disproportionality for the betterment of the citizens of this country.
Perhaps answer that question. How do you use your power?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I was just about to go there to say that I really think the way that business in this country, especially in the form of BLSA, is intervening in terms of trying to make sure that this government is a capable state is the best way in which business can actually intervene. The work that we're doing in as far as the structural reform agenda, Ashraf, is actually important, because if you look at the fact that the biggest problem that we're trying to solve as a country is this 40 43% unemployment in terms of the expanded definition, where you have more people that are unemployed than those that are employed in all the provinces except Gauteng and the Western Cape. Not even talking about the 65% youth unemployment in terms of the expanded definition. Now, if you look at how we solve for that, you can't solve for that if you don't have the right level of investment that will grow the economy. So the structural reform agenda is precisely where you have to start, because if you implement the structural reform agenda, I mean, look at what has happened in as far as energy security is concerned. You get energy security right, business confidence goes up. Business confidence goes up, investment comes in. Investment comes in, you start to grow the economy at the right levels, at more than, the 1% that we've been growing for the past 10 years. And only when the economy starts to grow at the right level do we then deal with a huge issue of poverty, unemployment, and inequality that we have in this country. And I really think that as much as there might not always be a thorough understanding of what we do and how it impacts, what matters the most, which is this issue of unemployment. That is really economics 101. That is the value chain. That is how you get sustainably, at least, because the social grants are not going to get us there, Ashraf. The expanded public works programs or opportunity. President normally speaks about giving young people an opportunity, to work, or an opportunity to earn. I don't even know how he phrases it, but all of that is temporary interventions. Growing the economy on a sustainable basis is, what is required to actually deal with the problem.
We speak about growing the economy every day, and of course the president gives a speech at the budget or State of the Nation. Why are we not growing it? Like, what's the pothole that prevents us? What's the impediment?
We don't have a conducive environment within which business should operate. Remember, capital has many addresses. It doesn't have to land in South Africa. And if our address as South Africa is not an attractive one, it goes somewhere else. And our address has not been attractive for a while, Ashraf. So capital honestly is like water, and it will always follow the path of least, resistance. And I think looking at the many own goals that we have scored as a country, for many years, it has made it difficult for capital to actually land here. Even some of the capital that was here uprooted and actually went somewhere else. Over the years, we lost our position as the gateway to the African continent, as South Africa. So we are now embarking on this rebuilding exercise so that we can be able to get investment. And someone can say, but why are we relying on international and foreign direct investment? Why are we not, investing in our own economy? Well, we don't have enough domestic savings to can invest in our own economy.
I tell you what, we need to have another. We need to have another thought leader. We need to have another thought leader conversation just about growth, maybe some other time, right? But here's the one.
Yes.
When the whole debate came up a few weeks ago about the VAT 2% increase and maybe now the 1%. The one call was like, why tax the poor? Come on, let big business pay more. They need to be taxed a whole lot more. What's your stance on that?
Well, if you're going to be talking about big business paying more, how much big business are you talking about? Because I think in reality, when you look at it, the fact that you're sitting in this very constrained economic environment, where you and I as consumers don't even have enough disposable income to buy goods and services that businesses sell. If you and I are not buying, businesses are generating less revenues. If they are generating less revenues, it means they are generating less profits. If they are generating less profits, it means SARS pound of flesh is less than what it could have ordinarily been. So that is how this thing works. So if SARS is getting less and less from businesses because businesses are just not making enough revenues because people don't have money to buy their goods and services, so who are you really taxing? So how much is it? And I mean, you even look at the personal income tax. How many people are employed in South Africa at the moment? At the last, I could have these numbers wrong, Ashraf. It is about 6 or so million people who earn enough to pay as you earn versus 19 million people who depend on some form of social grant or other. So when we talk about increasing, there is a mismatch. So when you talk about increasing personal income tax and corporate tax, there has to be an awareness that that bucket is shrinking, because our economics, and our numbers, are just not making sense at the moment as a country.
I suppose your point that you give is just a good example. If we've got expanded unemployment rate at 45%, it does mean that business is possibly operating at a 45% discount. That means underperforming. Business would achieve much more if more people were employed and buying as you made. But what we'll do, we'll pause for a moment. You can take a breather for now because let's get to the news headlines. It's 5:30.
Good afternoon. Making headlines, the National Treasury has defended its position on the VAT increase for 2025-26. A proposed budget. Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana proposed to increase VAT by 0.5 percentage points annually for 2 years when he tabled the budget in Parliament earlier this month. Public Works and Infrastructure Minister Dean McPherson has committed to ensuring that companies involved in corruption and abandoned government projects unfinished face the full might of the law. And finally, a court in Spain has overturned the rape conviction of the Brazilian footballer Dani Alves, the former Barcelona defender. And Brazil international was sentenced last year to 4.5 years in jail for raping a woman in a Barcelona nightclub. I will have details on these and other stories at 6 o'clock.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Q on Friday afternoon through Joburg is at the N3. There's this collision scene that happened much earlier down by the Ilanz interchange, deep in Germiston. Traffic still very heavily backed from about Modderfontein Road in the Edenvale area, and of course to get into it from the N12 and R24 it's pretty heavy as well. Crash on Pretoria's N1 North near Rigel Avenue now. Breakdown earlier at Gaasfontein's being cleared, but that collision scene keeping traffic heavy from Buerta Avenue. Eskia and Patlani heavy out of Pretoria CBD up towards the Mopare Highway as well. Now if you're driving into Durban, heads up, there are two highways coming in from the airport and both are absolutely jam-packed. N2 from Sibaya through Gateway down to Kwamashu, M4 from Sibaya through Mshanga down towards Blue Lagoon. Both of those highways extremely busy today. Crash on the N2 north at Umgene Road, traffic parking up heavily through Spaghetti Junction towards that one, and a truck crash out on the M7 into Pinetown just before the N3, delays back through Hunt Stedman Highway. Came down the N7 south, roadwork still on the go at Goodwood, not as heavy as it has been in the week, but there's still a big enough queue. A lot of traffic avoiding that and taking the M1 to the Kubo, get a change, so that's slow. And a crash involving a bus on 35th Avenue before Robert Sobukwe, delays if you're on that route heading to the airport. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Kapele.
Tell me what's happening with the Blitzbokke.
Well, it was a hot and cold day in the office for the Blitzboks on the opening day of the Hong Kong Sevens with a 47 win over Uruguay, followed by a disappointing 26-7 defeat to Australia in their second Pool B match. Now, these results leave South Africa in second place on the log, and they are in a battle of pool survival tomorrow when they face New Zealand, who earlier defeated Uruguay and Australia. They play New Zealand tomorrow at 7:34. Then Ruan Venter is in line for a 50th appearance for the Lions as the side prepared to take on defending Vodacom United Rugby Championship champions Glasgow Warriors tomorrow. Venter is part of an unchanged starting lineup as coach Ivan van Rooyen has kept faith in the team. This is despite their failings against Cardiff. On the bench is Reinhard Jonker, who's coming in to replace Henko van Wyk, who suffered a foot injury. In football, Banyana veteran Noko Matlo says that she will officially be retiring from international football after she runs out for the last time against Malawi next month. The 39-year-old is set to bring the curtain down on an illustrious international playing career, which saw her win the 2022 Women's Africa Cup of Nations, and she also helped Banyana to a historic 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup last 16 appearance. Well, in action this weekend in the Hollywood Bet Super League, City Lads host University of Pretoria, who will be playing their season opener, and UWC are away to University of Fort Hare, and you can catch the action on SABC Sport and SABC 1 on Sunday. Meanwhile, Mamelodi Sundowns are back in action tonight against Kukune United in the quarterfinals of the Nedbank Cup, a game that was meant to be played 3 weeks ago. It's a massive match for Masandawana, who missed out on the MTN 8 and Carling knockout, but Babina Noko will be aiming to cause an upset. Now, Sundowns are boosted by the return of Themba Zwane, and he'll be on the bench tonight. Elsewhere, Manchester City goalkeeper Edison is fit and will travel with the squad ahead of Sunday's FA Cup quarterfinal clash against Bournemouth. Meanwhile, Spain will bid to jointly host the 2035 Women's Football World Cup along with Portugal and Morocco. And Spain will also host the 2030 Men's World Cup alongside Morocco and Portugal in a new format, with the first group stage matches played in Uruguay, Argentina and Paraguay to celebrate the centenary of the first edition of the competition. In cricket, England batter Joe Root has firmly ruled himself out of stepping in the shoes of the captain of England's ODI team. Now, the announcement comes after Josh Butler's recent resignation from the post, and Root stressed that he believes that his time as captain is over and is now fully focused on playing for England in their upcoming Test series against India and the Ashes in Australia later this year. Then finally, the second edition of the Johannesburg City Marathon takes center stage this weekend. Around 4,000 runners will take to the road on Sunday, with the marathon starting at the Klip Riverberg National Reserve in Kipla Park. And in terms of the road closures, Gordon Road, the R82, the M1 South and Nelson Mandela Bridge, they'll be fully closed from 5:30 until midday. But that's it. It is a wrap from my side for the week. I'll be back again on Monday.
Now the most important question. What's your plans for the weekend?
All things women's football. I'll be on SABC 1 at 3 p.m. on Sunday for the University of Fort Hare versus UWC match.
Oh, fabulous. Okay, well, from my side, it's the last weekend of Ramadan. As you know, we've been fasting. So the plan is that if we find the crescent moon for the new month on Sunday evening, then Eid will be on Monday, which means I can chow in the daytime for the first time in 30 days. If we don't, we'll have another day to continue fasting. Then Eid will be on Tuesday. So either way, the plan is that we're batting, if I can call it that, on a Monday Eid. We'll see what happens. Yeah, that's where my focus
You'll
is
be
for this
crossing
weekend.
your fingers.
Yeah, that's where my focus is, with dates in my hand and see what happens. Yeah.
But that's it.
Something big is coming. 6:30 will never be the same. Amalanga Wafani, only on SABC 1.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Right, let's talk about money. It's the weekend, so there's no show 6 to 7, but you certainly have all the numbers that matter, Jimmy.
Good afternoon to the listeners. The numbers do certainly matter. It doesn't look like we're closing out the week in a very good territory. Markets largely in the red, all European markets in the red, all Asian markets in the red, with the exception of the ASX in Sydney. That was up marginally, about 0.1% or so. But there were some really big negative moves from a equity point of view. The Nikkei was down 1.8%, the DAX and the CAC 40 down 1%, the Nasdaq is down 2% at the moment, the S&P is down 1.4% at the moment, and the Dow is down 1.3%. Local markets didn't fare much better. The industrial index down 0.9%, financials down 2.2%, but the saving grace for our local equity counters was resource stocks. The resources 10 up 3.4%. As a result of that big move, the All Share was down 0.33%, and the top 40 was down 0.4%. The gold price is what has been one of the biggest drivers from a commodities point of view. Platinum and palladium are still below $900 and around the $980 an ounce mark. Brent crude $73.60 a barrel, but as I said, gold is the biggest gainer on the day so far, up 2%, around $3,080, heading towards $3,100 at this rate. If we look at currencies, the rand giving back some ground against the US dollar, 18 rand 40 against the dollar. It was at 18 rand 20 sometime yesterday, so losing a bit of ground overnight. The Rand against the euro, 19.94, back towards the 20 Rand level. One Australian dollar will cost you 11 Rand and 60 cents, and one British pound around 23 Rand 85 cents. Anyone looking at a Bitcoin at the moment, it's now down to $84,300 odd, but that would obviously be cancelled out by the fact that the Rand has weakened a bit, so the price of Bitcoin is still roughly the same as it was when we looked at it. $84 a coin going into the weekend is not so bad. Bitcoin is one of those cryptocurrencies that does have some movements over weekends. We've seen that in the past. Going into next week, it's the first week or the start of the new month, so we will have one more trading day for the month of March on Monday. But by and large, it looks as though the first quarter of the year has pretty much wrapped up from a trading perspective, and that could be driving some of the volumes that we saw today as well. Some of the markets taking profits, or some of the readjustments and realignments to markets. We know that next week we've got jobs numbers out of the US as well, and we'll probably likely continue to get data out from various areas around the world. So markets probably just digesting a lot of what's happening and anticipating what could come next week. We go into the weekend on slightly negative footing, but we'll come back next week and see where we go from here.
Okay, perfect. You enjoy your weekend, and of course we're going to connect on Monday. Jimmy Moyaha, 6 to 7 every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but not on a Friday. Got that? Right, what we do have on a Friday is the Fireside Chat with Busi Mavuso, my guest today. She's the CEO of Business Leadership SA, and I'll pick a brain on some of the key issues in the country right after this.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Okay, welcome back after that break, Brucey. Now, I want to pick your brain on a lot of things. Let me start with this one here. So, you know that I drive a project called Champion South Africa, and I'm going to build this champion nation. And I've asked many people, probably about 100, that's the plan, to get to share how they champion our country, okay? You've given me the answer. Can you remember what you said?
I said, oh my goodness, it has to be something around social justice.
Okay, let me read it. Let me read it for you. Okay, this is what you said.
Yes.
I champion South Africa by supporting initiatives and interventions that are geared towards ensuring that we have a capable state, so that South Africa can be good for business and business good for South Africa. Okay, no social justice in that point, but I think it's there anyway, if you get my point, right? Okay, so that's what drives you, right? I mean, I take it that's your big thing that drives you in your life. We are slipping up, aren't we? As a country, in terms of getting to what you call the capable state, yeah.
We have slipped up, but I really think we're on the mend, Ashraf. I think, to be honest, there's really been great strides that have been made by this administration and by the previous administration. So we are not as bad. We are not where we were with the fifth administration. So there is progress, and I really think that it's important that we actually acknowledge and note, the great work that is being done. Social reform agenda, for instance.
Well, talk about social justice. I mean, I was at the Social Justice Summit, obviously convened by Prof. Thuli Madonsela a good few years ago, and you're one of the panelists. You were outspoken against corruption. You probably mentioned the word Zuma there in that conversation. I can't remember, but you were very outspoken about corruption. But you've also then been critical about the current leadership, aren't you?
In as far as I think not making enough progress is concerned, I definitely am. I'm a fan. Ashraf, the difference between good and prosperous countries, good prosperous countries and bad failing states, is governments. It is not natural endowments, it is not strong man leadership, it's governments. So, whenever I get asked why I'm so critical of government, it's because governments matter. Governments can make a difference. If governments get it wrong, it can actually plunge an entire economy, an entire country, the fate of so many citizens of that country into dire straits. So I am quite critical of government, but I think I'm also the first to acknowledge when things go right. So yeah.
What are we getting right? What are we we're doing really well at the moment?
So when you look at the progress that has been made, it has actually been quite fundamental, quite a few things. We have been complaining about the importance of getting the network industries right as business. You know, those are the very basics. If we're saying we're trying to get investment into this country, you can't get investment into the country when the network industries are not functioning as they should. Network industries are energy, transport, logistics, water, and telecoms. Telecoms has been the only one that has been functioning as it should for the longest time. The other three have been dysfunctional. We have turned the corner in as far as energy is concerned. We are making progress in as far as transport logistics are concerned, and there are interventions in place to try and solve for water. So I think for me, those are the basics. And of course, there is the issue of the visas, there is the issue of municipalities, professionalization of the public service, and so forth and so forth. But I really think that the fact that we are focusing on things that will ensure that our economy turns the corner is, you know, an important one for me. And I think we are doing a great job in as far as that is concerned.
All right. Now, and part of that would be, you know, there's an important event coming up at the end of the year, and there's a theme of that right throughout the year, in the same way we celebrated the build-up to the 2010 World Cup. And I'm talking about the G20 summit, right? So G20 and then the different extensions, including the B20. I mean, you're involved in it, aren't you? And the question to put to you is like, not what's it about? I'll get Keskovania to explain that some other time, right? But how does South Africa leverage of hosting the G20 summit to enhance our own agenda as we enhance the agenda of the G20?
You know, if we are saying our main challenge that we're trying to face as the country is to try and eradicate the high levels of unemployment, well, as I said, you do that through getting investment, you know, and investment that will ensure that you grow the economy. Well, whenever we talk about getting investment, the countries that are in the G20 are precisely the countries that we actually look to, you know, to invest in this country. Those are Germany, those are France, those are Japan, those are China, those are Australia, those are many countries in the global north that are currently investing in South Africa and do have the propensity to continue to invest in South Africa. Now, if you're going to have so much spotlight and so much attention that is going to be on South Africa, so many of these leaders, ministers, prime ministers, coming in and out of South Africa throughout 2025, it really is an opportunity to present and showcase our country as an investment destination. You know, it really is a brilliant platform to talk about the work that we have done, the progress that we've made as a country. You know, it's a really a great opportunity to establish in the minds of the world that South Africa is a jurisdiction that matters, that we are a market that has a lot to offer, that we are a country that is heading in the right direction.
Are we on track to do that? Are we on track to? I mean, you talk about, basically you say you can leverage, and it's a lot easier when you meet people face to face for a full year, which is what's happening now, right? We already know what's happening with the European Union investment, but are we on track to leverage fully that what you just told us?
On track to definitely leverage it, because the evidence is on the ground, Ashraf, in terms of what we've done and what we've actually achieved. You know, I think when we look at where the country was just a short 18, 24 months ago, when we had, you know, these blackouts, you know, I don't know which year it was, it must have been 2022 or 2023, where out of the 365 days, you had load shedding of about 254 days. You know, so it only left you with only one quarter where you didn't have load shedding. And you actually juxtapose that to having been at 311 days on the, when was it, when we hit our first bout of load shedding?
Yeah.
You know, whatever that date was, I think it was the
ago,
11th of March or something like that. Exactly, right? So I think there is a fundamental progress and shift that has been made, and that can be attributed to the reform work that has actually been done. And if you're going to implement these reforms in all the other different sectors where we actually have problems, you can see, you know, the sustainability of the solutions that we are employing as a country to ensure that we can actually turn our economic trajectory around.
Okay.
So yes, we are on the right track, and we do have a good story to tell.
Would you take up the position as ambassador of South Africa to the USA if you were asked?
No, I wouldn't.
And if you were sent anyway,
No.
what would you tell Donald Trump if you had a nice one-on-one with him?
Oh my goodness. I guess we have a beautiful story to tell as a country. You know, the story of South Africa. You know, the story of our South Africa. You know, when you look at the emerging economies cluster, 30 or whatever so of them, you know, South Africa is actually, you know, some of the top on that list. You know, when you look at the fact that in the next, what is it, in 2030, I think they say, is it 2050? 20% of the world's population is going to be in Africa.
Yeah.
So if you are a country that is actually looking for markets, the market is in Africa because everyone else's population is actually declining. You know, everyone else's population, even those that are growing, are just not growing at the rate that Africa is actually growing at. So Africa cannot be ignored. So we definitely are the continent of the future, and we do have an opportunity to can actually leverage
so
that.
in that vein, what are your thoughts about Donald Trump's pronouncements about South Africa and the decisions that he's made and threatening to make about South Africa?
You know, when we had this discussion with the B20, we had a very interesting conversation about how it's unfortunate, you know, that we find ourselves where we find ourselves as a country. But I really think that we actually have to find avenues and ways of how we can actually engage. And it's interesting because I think Ibrahim Rasool, as he actually comes back, or as he came back into the country, actually, you know, spoke about exactly that. You know, that to say, we can say whatever we want to say, Ashraf, but the US is still a country that matters. You know, when we look at their contribution to the global trade, the fact that 35% of the global population comes from the US, they own 50% of the global military, and I think they are the biggest second trading partner of South Africa. They're the second or the third biggest trading partner of South Africa. The second the biggest trading partner of South Africa. You know, the fact that with the tariffs that are actually being imposed, a lot of people seem to actually be trivializing this, and they're saying, yeah, if US wants to go, they can go, we can find other markets. But Ashraf, let's be honest and accept that in the short term, even medium term, we are going to take pain because cultivating new markets is going to take a while. You know, they talk about the fact that Africa, you know, rather the rest of Africa is what we should actually leverage and exploit because we're already exporting a lot to the rest of the other African countries. But do they have the propensity to can absorb, you know, what the US and the other countries are actually absorbing?
Not now.
Because this is a function of supply and demand. Not now, right?
Okay, let's pause on that. Not now. Let's pause on that. I'll get more about you and your life after this.
Masandawana have a master plan to win in their own backyard to ease off the pressure before the trip to the north. But the Beast of Africa want to demonstrate why they are also called the Smiling One. This is the first leg quarterfinal battle of the Total Energies CAF Champions League. Do not miss out on the delight of African football. Mamelodi Sundowns versus Esperance de Tunis on Tuesday, 1 April at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4, SABC 1 and SABC Plus. Also available on SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
SASSA Gold Card beneficiaries can still come and collect their new Postbank Black Card. Now, avoid the risk of not receiving your grant. Join over 1.3 million beneficiaries that are already conveniently receiving their grant using the Postbank Black Card. Now, there are multiple selected outlets nationwide where you can swap your SASSA Gold Card for the new Postbank Black Card. What do you need to do? Dial *120 *355# to find one near you. Standard rates apply. Postbank, your bank.
You are listening to the National Pulse with Ashraf Garda.
Okay, incredible. We've got just over 5 minutes to go, Bruce. It's amazing where time goes. So some quick questions and hopefully some quick answers from you, right? Are you reading a book right now that you like to tell us what's it about?
I am. I'm reading Malcolm Gladwell, Outlier, a very brilliant book about it really challenges the conventional notions of success, and it talks about what really makes people successful.
Well, it's not a new book, but it's a book that. And it's not a new book, but it's a book that one has to read because it's just so important. So Outliers, right? Have you written a book yourself? I don't know. Have you written a book?
No.
Is that coming?
No, I haven't. No, I don't plan to.
All right. Is that a great quote? I mean, you did say you used one where you said, "What got me here, will not necessarily get me there." But is there something else that you use often? A good inspiring quote.
There is a quote I came across when I was much younger by Dennis Waitley, which said, "It's not who you are that holds you back, it's who you think you're not." And it spoke to me, because I think a lot of us suffer from this imposter syndrome thing, Ashraf, and I think it just resonated, and I think I've just held it and I've kept it with me for quite some time. It's not who you are that holds you back, it's who you think you're not.
I think that's such an important thing. Talking about who's not, we also use this platform for you to give a shout out to a young South African that's emerging, that we want the whole country to know about. So give me a name.
I came across this one young, bright Black African lady, Khothatso Baloyi. She's an electronic liquidity lead at RMB. I mean, what does that even mean? But that's her job. That's what she does, right? An electronics liquidity lead. I didn't even know that there was such a thing. She measured, I don't know, in mathematics, and I don't know what. She's involved in the B20 digital transformation. She analyzes markets, and I think she uses AI to do very, very fascinating. I looked at her and I thought, oh my goodness, do people even go to school for these things? But it was just so inspiring. Listen to her talk about what she does. Okay. She can't be over 25. When I look at her, I was like, this is what young people in South Africa have to be doing and studying. So
yeah. And is there a person who's the one person besides family that when you were growing up and you looked up to people who are high achievers, is there someone that you said, wow?
No, it has to be my mom.
Your mom, okay, yeah. Well, that's fine if that's as authentic as it can be, right? Yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
When you reflect, I mean, what is your purpose in life? What's your life purpose?
I think I've spoken a lot about where I come from, Ashraf, about the work that I did at BMF, what I'm currently doing at BLSA. And I think all of this, for me, it's really, I find the work that I do here, for instance, as an opportunity to champion social justice in the spaces that, or rather in this current space that I occupy, by standing for the truth, even when I'm the only one that is doing so. I really think that is my purpose, because I think for standing for what is right, by galvanizing and marshalling business, community, very powerful social partner, their resources to the right things to improve the living conditions, of so many South Africans. I think that is what, and I think that is just the burden I carry, because of where I come from. I think it would be fundamentally wrong, for a young person today to have to go through to some of the harsh realities, and some of the, issues that I went through growing up. Not 30 years into democracy, when we've got...
I've seen many examples of you standing up for the truth, and I think you're a huge asset to the country in doing just that. Right, we've got about 2 minutes to go, so a quick one. Is there a great story about you that you'd like to share? Just a quick, fun story.
Not a story. I think just the fact about myself is that, interestingly enough, I'm very antisocial, popular to contrary belief. I really am a recluse. I love, if I didn't have to go anywhere, didn't have to meet people, didn't have to talk to anyone, I would do absolutely that. But my job obviously takes me out of my comfort zone, which is absolutely brilliant, because then I've cultivated a whole lot of leadership traits, and I think strengths as a result of that. But so on the whole and deep down, I'm really...
You're the recluse, okay. So of all the strengths you've cultivated, what for you is like your greatest strength?
It You know, one of the greatest life lessons, for instance, that I learned when I was much younger was the importance of being decisive, the importance of not being a fence-sitter, the importance of choosing a side, the importance of taking a position, even when you are critical inside about the decision that you are making. You know, this person that I was talking to said, you know, leadership is about showing up. And if you don't show up, you know, it actually then doesn't matter. You know, when they were actually saying that sometimes you'd rather have a leader that is strong and wrong rather than a leader that is weak and right, you know? And I think just making the point of make a decision irrespective, because worse than a wrong decision is an indecision. You know, wrong decision, you can walk it back and try and rectify. Indecision, you leave people in limbo.
Okay, so the art of being decisive, I think, is critically important, right? We've got a half a minute to go, so two things in one go, right? A quick answer to this. What do you think is your legacy?
One of the quotes that I love again is, you know, I'd love to be remembered as someone who did what they could with what they had, with where they are. I think that was Roosevelt who actually said that. So that is how I would like to be remembered, as someone who did their utmost best with what, you know, I could, with where I was, with what I had. And I think that is absolutely how I'd like
Well, I was
to
going to ask you lastly, how would you like to be remembered? You've actually answered that, but perhaps I'll just rephrase this one then. How would you like South Africa to measure you in the past tense one day?
But how, during my era, business actually has contributed to the betterment of the citizens of this country.
And there you are. Well, your time's up. Your time's up on the show, but your time is not up in terms of contribution to the country. So keep on championing South Africa, because you do that really well, but you have lots of work to do in this year and the years ahead. Because for South Africa to succeed, we need a whole lot of winners like yourself. Brucey Mavuso, great chatting to you, and thanks for spending an hour with me here on the Friday Fireside Chat here on the National Pulse. Thank you so much.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Ashraf. Thanks for inviting me.
There we are. We'll have a podcast of that soon. Really insightful business leadership lessons coming out of that, isn't it? Okay, it's the weekend. I'll break my fast shortly, and then I'll come back on Monday if there's no Eid. Otherwise, I'll skip it and then come back on Tuesday. Either way, what happens now is the news. It's just gone 6 o'clock.
Top stories: the Sawa National Treasury defends its position on the proposed